Good morning and welcome to News Morning here on TV3. I am Enyunam, coming up in a few minutes. Over 620,000 candidates says for the basic education certificate examination today. Also, government to release nationwide timetable for transformer upgrade this week to improve electricity distribution. Also, Ghana makes positive strides on World Press Freedom Index 2026, moving 13 positions forward to 39th position. Thank you for joining us this morning. We're going to a first story where the basic education certificate examination is set to start today. The examination will take place over a period of 5 days, concluding on May 11. 620,141 candidates from 20,395 schools are expected to sit for the nationwide examination. The figure represents an increase of 2.7% compared to last year, with candidates comprising 3,049 boys and 315,792 girls. The examination will be conducted in 2,303 centers across the country, supervised by 203,000 supervisors, supported by 2,070 assistant supervisors and 21,791 invigilators. Now we'll still stay on education because the examination, which is set to start today, will comprise of quite a number of students. Meanwhile, the head of public relations at the West African Examination Council, John Kapi, said the authorities have put adequate measures in place for a successful take-off today.
Yes, indeed, BECE starts in a few hours. WAEC is ready to conduct the examination as expected. There's a process that we go through every year as far as our monies are concerned. Before the examinations commence, we are paid 70% of the amount, after which the other 30 is paid. Usually the 70% is enough for us to be able to carry through all the pre-examination activities. It is also enough for us to be able to conduct the exam. So we are very sure that once the exams are over and we start marking, the rest of the money will be made available, and they will be able to pay all the invigilators, supervisors, as well as the examiners who will be marking the scripts. We are increasing our numbers across the country. First of all, we have our own staff who are going to be going around a number of centers, working in collaboration with the Ghana Education Service. They're also deploying a number of personnel from the headquarters as well as all the regional and district capitals to the various examination centers to ensure that sanity prevails. Beyond that, we know that usually the BNI as well as the national security also carry out a bit of, monitoring here and there. And then we have our own locally trained monitors that we have deployed. They would also help to maintain sanity. Beyond all of this, we have also held training sessions with all our invigilators and supervisors, telling them what we expect of them. And so we believe that by virtue of all the things that we put in place, sanity will prevail in the course of the examination. Well, I believe that the issue of examination leakage is a thing of the past, because we have not recorded any leakages in the past 6-7 years, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I'm very sure about that. But then what we've observed over the years is that as soon as the questions get out of our jurisdiction, that is our examination depots, sometimes either in the course of transporting the questions from the depot to the center, these questions are cut open, or as soon as they are opened at the examination centers, or whenever the candidates are just about to start, somebody takes a snapshot and posts that on social media. That is what we've observed. So the new rules that we've come up with include the fact that no supervisor, no invigilator should have a phone on them anywhere around the examination center where the question papers are being dealt with, just so that we do not have anyone being tempted to take any snapshots and post them on social media. Well, we usually have a number of distributors who pick up the question papers from the depot and then distribute across all the examination centers. As we speak, all these arrangements have been made in terms of transport, in terms of personnel, and so everybody is ready.
Now, from today, Monday, for 2026, more than 45 candidates across the Western region will walk into examination halls to write the Basic Education Certificate examination. Irama Smith has the report from Takoradi.
At exactly 8 o'clock Monday morning, 45,116 students in the Western region will walk into 154 exam halls to write the BECE, a 2.81% jump from last year. Girls once again outnumber the boys, this time by 1,108. They've studied for months. Now the countdown is real. At Woodbridge School, these candidates are among 45,116 students across the Western region ready to write the BECE on Monday.
We've prepared for quite some time, and I'm sure we are well prepared for the examination tomorrow. We are fully prepared, and with our teachers and our self-independence, we know with God all things are possible.
For some schools, preparation means camp. Students sleep, eat, and revise together with teachers on hand for last-minute drills.
I'm a bit scared, but I've been assured that this BEC is just like a normal exams we write every day. And there's no need to be scared because once you are prepared and ready to write it, surely you would pass by God's grace.
Then I am extremely ready for this exam.
Behind the scenes, it's a massive operation. 154 examination centers have been set up across the Western region. 188 police officers will guard the papers. Inside the halls, 1,516 vigilators will walk between the desks under the watch of 157 supervisors.
And I want to assure them that they should have confidence in themselves, so they shouldn't panic. No intimidation. The police are there to protect them. The vigilators and the supervisors are there to guide them as to the process they will go through before they write the exams. This year, there's a strong fight against examination malpractice.
For these students, Monday isn't just an exam, it is the next step to senior high school and the start of a new chapter. Irama Smith, TV3 Newday, Takoradi.
Wishing the students partaking in the BECE the very best. Now, away from that, World Press Freedom Day is set aside globally to celebrate the fundamental principles of press freedom and to assess the state of media independence around the world. The day also serves as a reminder to government of their duty to uphold the right to freedom of expression as enshrined in the democratic constitution and international frameworks. In Ghana, media practitioners and civil society groups are using the occasion to highlight both the progress made and the challenges what persists within the industry. While Ghana continues to rank relatively high in the Press Freedom Index within the West African sub-region, concerns remain over the attacks on journalists, political interference, and the growing threat of misinformation in the digital space. Stakeholders are also drawing the attention to the safety of journalists, particularly those covering sensitive issues such as corruption, elections, and illegal mining. This year's commemoration is being observed under the theme of safeguarding journalism in an evolving media space with a focus on impact of technology and artificial intelligence. Experts say while digital tools have expanded access to information, they have also introduced new risks, including disinformation and surveillance. Now, away from that, the controversy surrounding the Bank of Ghana is deepening as the minority in Parliament launches a scathing attack on both the central bank and the governing National Democratic Congress. They accuse the NDC of politicizing the Bank of Ghana and masking deeper financial distress. At a press conference, the minority described the Bank of Ghana as a policy insolvent and in the need of urgent bailout.
At the heart of the minority's concern is what they call a coordinated attempt by the governing NDC to spin the central bank's financial position and downplay what they insist is a gradual institutional decline. The group is particularly incensed by events in Parliament where they say members of the ruling party, including individuals who were not legislators, took part in presenting and interpreting the bank's audited accounts.
What happened on that Thursday when the NDC party, including non-MPs, came to Parliament, to the precincts of Parliament to hold a press conference to announce the audited accounts of the Bank of Ghana was an illegality. Not only was it an illegality, it was an act of blatant politicization of the Bank of Ghana and its work. The governor, the board, and the government should take note that this politicization of the central bank will create issues for the operational independence and credibility of the bank going forward.
Beyond politics, however, the minority is sounding a deeper economic warning. They claim that beneath what they describe as propaganda lies a more troubling reality, one they term policy insolvency. According to the minority, the Bank of Ghana is no longer able to sustain its core policy operations and needs a bailout.
This policy insolvency is as a result of new policies that they have introduced at the bank. The implication of this is that the bank now requires an urgent bailout before it can perform its core mandate. On the watch of the NDC, for the first time in our history, the Bank of Ghana has become policy insolvent.
They further argue that the central bank's reported financial position does not fully reflect the scale of its challenges. The minority puts the bank's true operating loss for 2025 at nearly 35 billion cedis, significantly higher than official figures.
The government and its spin doctors, led by the NDC party officials who did that press conference, are trying to convince the people of Ghana that the loss is 15.6 billion Ghana cedis. We regret to tell the people of Ghana that this is not true. The true operating loss of the Bank of Ghana for the year 2025 is 34.9 billion Ghana cedis. And in fact, if you add back the sale of the gold, or the proceeds from the sale of the gold, the 9.6 that I've just shown you, the true comprehensive loss position of the Central Bank of Ghana is 44 billion Ghana cedis.
For the minority, the implications cut across.
The macroeconomic dashboard is one half of the story. The other half is what is on the streets, the lived experience of the people that we've always been talking about. Manufacturers are reporting weaker order books in 2025 than in 2024. Power supply, as I'm sure you are all aware, remains a concern in many parts of the country. Ordinary households report that the cost of living remains high relative to wages. As for cocoa farmers, you know what is going on. Some government workers, particularly teachers and nurses, are in precarious conditions because they are not being paid after several months of work. So stability of numbers, respectfully, is not the same as stability of livelihoods. A stable city without a thriving private sector is incomplete stability.
The call is clear: urgent reforms, greater transparency, a reset of the bank's governance framework.
Now, away from the economy and to the energy sector, Energy Minister Dr. John Abdullah Jinapor says a nationwide timetable for transformer upgrades will be released anytime this week to improve electricity distribution. Government has installed 140 transformers so far, with 300 more set to be deployed as part of a broader plan to install over 2,500 units nationwide. And that brings us to the end of News Morning here on TV3. For more news, please check our website at 3news.com. I am Enyonam Halga. New Day continues.
Hello, my name is Pamela from Customer Service. Please revalidate your account by texting your Ghana card number to 0500,000 247.
Hey, Abili, wabedim. Madam, give me the numbers behind your ATM card. I'm calling from the head office.
An email was delivered across to our customers this morning.
Confirm if this is your bank account. 100-100-100.
Thanks for sending your bank card details.
Send the OTP now to avoid cancellation.
EcoBank will never call, email, send an SMS asking for your PIN, OTP.
reflect on your work and how it is contributing to the development of this country or whichever country you're joining us from. Once again, good morning and welcome to New Day on TV3. My name is Beatrice Edu. Of course, starting the day with Jamie Grace there, giving us that energetic music. But yes, it's a whole package for you this morning. And as you're aware, and I'm sure if you have a child, you'll understand that children at the BECE, the basic level, are writing the BECE today. We understand 600,000 of them will be sitting the exams nationwide. And over the years, we've had issues with examination malpractice. We've had schools punished. We've had some invigilators also punished as well. Some have been arrested because they aided students in cheating in the basic level exams. And so this morning, we'll be gauging the mood as regards how this whole exams is starting and speak to an education think tank, really, to find out whether we are improving when it comes to cheating in exams or examination malpractice, what systems have been put in place, and what's helping us ensure that our children write exams without cheating. And of course, one of the things that came out from last week when the Bank of Ghana released the audited financial reports for the bank, indicating that the central bank had lost about 15.6 billion Ghana cedis. We've had the minority and the majority giving their own perspectives as regards what's happening. We've already had the majority side or the governing NDC telling us that it's because of the measures being put in place. What's the 15.6 billion Ghana cedi loss of the BOG is not necessarily a loss. It's because of working towards stabilizing the economy. We've had the minority also coming in saying that they can actually prove that it's actually nearly 44 billion Ghana cedis. What's really the situation? What does this all mean for the economy moving forward, even for inflation, which is currently around 3.2%? And so we'll be delving into all of that. We'll be delving into these two major issues when it comes to the big issue segment. And of course, we'll have our regular panel people with us. We'll have Andrew Apia Dankwa, who is with the United Party. Of course, we'll have lawyer Eduji Tamaklo joining us. Good morning to you, sir. Looking forward to seeing you later this morning during the big issue conversation. And of course, he is the acting CEO, National Petroleum Authority. We'll also have with us Dr. Godfred Bokwin, an economist, who will be breaking down the numbers for us and what they're looking like as regards the impact on Ghana's economy. We'll have Fifi Boafo, former head of public affairs at Cocoa Board, joining us as well. And I did tell you that we're having about 600,000 of our basic students going to write the BECE today. We'll have WAEC joining us, head of public affairs, Mr. John Kapi, joining us to tell us what the situation is looking like, preparations, and really the measures they put in place to ensure that students do not cheat at these exams. And we're going to have the real results of the performance at the end of the day. And so, yes, a lot of things happening today, and we have a whole package for you. But on this morning's segment, we'll be looking at the BECE and really a look at past examinations and outcomes. Like I did tell you, we'll be speaking to an education think tank, Africa Education Watch, to tell us what kind of measures we need to put in place to ensure that we're performing better and our students are taught the right things, so when they go, they are able to, as it were, perform well. But we are not just concentrating on Accra. This exams is nationwide, and so we'll be crossing over to other parts of the country to also gauge the mood, the preparations there, and how things are panning out, what kind of systems have been put in place. So once again, my name is Beatrice Edu, and you're welcome to New Day on TV3. And like I did say, very shortly, we'll be going further this morning segment. Let me say a big thank you to Pamoni Clothing in East Legon for my costume this morning. Good morning to all of you, and you're welcome to this morning segment.
Yes, indeed, BECE starts in a few hours. WAEC is ready to conduct the examination as expected. There's a process that we go through every year as far as our monies are concerned. Before the examinations commence, we are paid 70% of the amount, after which the other 30 is paid. Usually the 70% is enough for us to be able to carry through all the pre-examination activities. It is also enough for us to be able to conduct the exam. So we are very sure that once the exams are over and we start marking, the rest of the money will be made available, and they will be able to pay all the invigilator supervisors as well as the examiners who will be marking the scripts. We are increasing our numbers across the country. First of all, we have our own staff who are going to be going around a number of centers, working in collaboration with the Ghana Education Service. They're also deploying a number of personnel from the headquarters as well as all the regional and district capitals to the various examination centers to ensure that sanity prevails. Beyond that, we know that usually the BNI as well as the national security also carry out a bit of, monitoring here and there. And then we have our own locally trained monitors that we have deployed. They would also help to maintain sanity. Beyond all of this, we have also held training sessions with all our invigilators and supervisors, telling them what we expect of them. And so we believe that by virtue of all the things that we put in place, sanity will prevail in the course of the examination. Well, I believe that the issue of examination leakage is a thing of the past, because we have not recorded any leakages in the past 6-7 years, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I'm very sure about that. But then what we've observed over the years is that as soon as the questions get out of our jurisdiction, that is our examination depots, sometimes either in the course of transporting the questions from the depot to the center, these questions are cut open, or as soon as they are opened at the examination centers, or whenever the candidates are just about to start, somebody takes a snapshot and posts that on social media. That is what we've observed. So the new rules that we've come up with include the fact that no supervisor, no invigilator should have a phone on them anywhere around the examination center where the question papers are being dealt with, just so that we do not have anyone being tempted to take any snapshots and post them on social media. Well, we usually have a number of distributors who pick up the question papers from the depot and then distribute across all the examination centers. As we speak, all these arrangements have been made in terms of transport, in terms of personnel, and so everybody is ready.
And you just watched the John Kapi. He's the head of public affairs at WAEC. And I did tell you that we'll be speaking to an education think tank. And we joined by video call by Kofi Asare. He's executive director. He is actually joining us on the phone. He is Mr. Kofi Asare, the executive director of the Africa Education Watch. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. Hello, Mr. Kofi Asare. All right, so Kofi Asare is the executive director. I can hear you. Okay, but you're very faint. I don't know whether you're far away from the phone, but good morning to you. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, good morning.
Let me first get your thoughts really on, in terms of measures that have been put in place. We just watched John Kapi there, who speaks for WAEC, giving us updates as regards what kind of systems they put in place to ensure a smooth run of this examination starting today. I want to believe that you've done your own research or you have information as regards what's happening this week. Can you tell us what you've gathered and whether or not these measures, as we were told by Mr. John Kapi, are enough to ensure there's transparency and no examination malpractice?
Well, this morning we wish our candidates well in the BECE. As we keep saying, BECE is a placement examination. It's not a do or die. BECE is to tell our candidates who will go to a category D school, C school, B school, or category A school. And that's it. All the schools are schools that can take you to the university. A lot depends on their effort. And so we encourage them to do their best, but it is not a do or die affair. Having said that, I'm happy about the measures that WAEC has put in place. And in the past 3-4 years, we've seen WAEC demonstrating significant will to put in place mechanisms to prevent cheating, or if you like, to strengthen exam assessment integrity, and that is appreciated. We, within that context, also welcome the decision not to allow invigilators to have mobile phones on them. We know that the modus operandi of the examination collusion gang is normally to take a shot of the question paper and circulate it to their partners who are normally waiting in the library or in the laboratory of the school, where they could solve and then transmit answers onto water platforms or projectors that are being used in the examination hall. And so if you prevent the questions from being, a shot of the questions from being taken by invigilators not having access to mobile phones, then you are trying to cut, the flow or the flow from the base. And so I think it is a commendable decision. But 99% of the code of the decision rests with how it is implemented. If it is effectively implemented at all centers, then it should have an impact on integrity levels. But if it becomes a directive that becomes difficult to implement because WAEC is not physically present, then it will remain an issue. And so the question I would have asked Mr. Kapi, if he was still on the line, was that how many of the centers where this directive will be implemented will be directly manned by a WAEC staff or a WAEC designated agent, not a junior staff. So that question will give you an idea about how prepared WAEC is to implement this new decision. And everyone has always said that where there's a WAEC agent or a WAEC staff, or otherwise called a non-genius invigilator or supervisor or monitor on site, compliance level to such directives, including not allowing students to take mobile phones in, etc., is higher, way higher than where the center has no non-genius staff presence, either as an invigilator, supervisor, or monitor. So that question, when answered by Mr. Kapi, will give us, some idea about whether this directive will be an advice or it will actually be enforced as a directive at all centers.
Mr. Sari, you just talked about the fact that one of the measures put in place by WAEC is preventing the invigilators from having phones because of their modus operandi, sending the exams questions to people who are in the library or elsewhere to answer and then bring them back. Again, you commended WAEC for the kind of measures that they've put in place in the last few years. To what extent do you believe that this has helped to improve how we do our exams?
Well, as a result of WAEC collaboration with the Ministry of Education, since 2023, we haven't been seeing leakages. Where we used to go and buy questions, we go there, they give us questions, the questions don't arrive. And so when I comment based on the outcome. I compare it to pre-2022, where we go to the market, we buy, we get, and then every question arrives the next day or two. And so if I'm seeing some of these things being put in place and then seeing that the outcome is that the questions are not leaking, there's a basis to comment. But where directives like invigilators should not use mobile phone inside, invigilators should not allow students to take mobile phones in. This directive has been there for a long time. The mobile phone ban has been there for over 10 years. But every year, we report many students being caught with mobile phones in the examination hall. Okay. And indeed, without the mobile phone, majority of the examination room collusion cannot happen because the questions are transmitted to students in the collusion through mobile phone platforms. And that's why I asked the question that the extent to which the directive not to allow have invigilators and supervisors hold mobile phones in the examination room would depend on how effective it will be applied. Because in a school where there is no WAEC official there, and everyone there, but if you're not a WAEC officer, you are either a policeman or a GES staff. The policemen too, their work is mainly for security. So you are a GES staff. In a school where there is no WAEC official there, and there are only GES staff there, at the beginning of the paper, during the paper, it is not likely that given the area that school is, the mobile phone ban will be as effective as it would have been if there's a non-GES staff, i.e. from WAEC there. And that's why I asked the question that we know that about 21,000 invigilators have been deployed, so and so and so and so. A number of monitors from WAEC will be deployed. But the point is that this question is very, very important. And if Mr. Kapi is not there, you get him and let him answer after this. Now, how many of our centers are WAEC officials going to be there throughout the examination? How many of our centers? Because WAEC has a human capacity issue. They are unable to deploy their own staff and agents to all centers all the time. For 3 years ago, they were doing so to only about 20%. And so they had to be deploying roving people who live here and go here and go here. Last year's BECE, during one of our undercover, we realized that there was someone at the GS office who, at the GS office in one of the districts, who had the schedule of the only WAEC officer who was doing the rounds, visiting service center. So immediately the WAEC officer left the education office and said, I'm going to this place, from here I'll go to this place, because typically I'm going to have about 10 centers in some of these districts. Then the person will be given the itinerary to the invigilators in the school. That the man will be here at 11 o'clock, will be here at 12, so be careful, so. It is simply because why they don't have enough personnel to deploy to all the centers to be stationed there. I know to date, they still don't have enough personnel to do that. But the question is that, how many more people are they able to deploy as WAEC agents to our centers? Once that number is increasing, you always see a correlation between the reduction in examination quality, because it's very difficult for collusion between invigilators or, if you like, teachers in a particular school or at a particular center and candidates when there is an external WAEC official. That is what evidence in the past has shown us.
And I'm glad you talk about the challenges of WAEC. You're talking about human capacity, among others. How do you think we can deal with this? Because in as much as you talk about the fact that WAEC has been able to put in some measures, we see Africa Education Watch come out almost every year with results of examination malpractice across the country. How do we deal with this factor of human capacity, as you put it, with WAEC that influences cheating and examination malpractice in schools across the country?
Well, the last time I checked, in the past 3-4 years, WAEC's budget has always contained a staffing deficit of about 220 or so, between the WAEC itself and the staff. And anytime they present their budget to the government, they don't receive the funding to recruit them in the question numbers. I've been seeing it in their budget during appropriation in the past 4 years or so. So the first thing to do is to provide a financial clearance for WAEC to be able to recruit staff they themselves claim they need to operate efficiently. That is the first thing. The second thing is that we have recommended to the ministry that it may not be prudent to get WAEC staff in all centers. Okay? And so you're going to have over 1,000 centers for a particular examination. So let's consider bringing in non-GES staff as invigilators, so that the hypothesis is that it is much more difficult for quote unquote a corrupt system to influence an external actor than an internal actor. And so the invigilator is no longer your teacher you are familiar with, so you can't condone or you can't connive. Okay? Then you bring in an external person. It may be someone who works in the fire service, maybe someone who is a clergyman, maybe someone who is a media person, it may be someone who works for African Education Watch. But then someone external to the school environment to be doing monitoring in the school, you understand. And these are things that WAEC at the time, I think 10, 12 years ago or 15 years ago, highlighted. But I understand that yes, it will come with cost, because if you are paying 20 cedis per paper to an invigilator, I'm not sure decrease, they pay 20 cedis per paper, you go and invigilate. If they decide to add medium to their budget. So it will come with cost and all that. And so they find the limited budget approved by Parliament and provided by the government as one that limits them to using teachers, because they are already available and they are ready to sacrifice and support them. So the conversations we must have, whether on increasing the WAEC budget to levels that they can operate independently of the teams when it comes to examination, invigilation and supervision, and then also enhancing their human capacity. So those are very, very important conversations that we must have if we expect WAEC to be responsive to the task of ensuring high levels of integrity in examination.
Indeed. But Mr. Kofi, it should be worrying to you as someone who is handling an education think tank and indeed policymakers that students do not believe that what they have learned through the school or through the years will see them through, and at the end of the day, they still think that they need assistance somewhere, somehow to pass the exams. What do you think is fueling that mentality, which is really causing us to have this discussion once again?
That mentality at the basic level is not driven by students. That mentality is driven by some teachers who believe that they have not taught the students well, and that for them to meet their key performance indicators as teachers and remain relevant, they must engage in deviant behaviors to push the students to perform. That is 90% of the source of that mindset. It is teacher driven. And so it is the teachers who approach the parents that pay us money so that we will prepare them well for the BECE. That prepare them well means a lot. So the money that is normally used to facilitate payment of money to invigilators, etc., okay, does not necessarily come from the students, because the students are not working. It's the parents who pay that BECE fee, quote unquote. Bear in mind that government has already paid the BECE fees in all public schools. And then they pay them to the schools. So that's the source of that mindset. Okay. Now, if you want to address the issue from the other side, from the demand side, there's a systemic issue. The systemic issue is that our schools, I know, are not properly equipped. We've been running a new curriculum for 7 years now or so, and we still don't have more than 50% of the textbooks we require in our 4 core subjects in our basic schools. We don't have them. And we have a lot of classrooms without teachers. You know, in some parts of the country, you have only one person manning primary 1 to primary 6. So there are deficits in teachers as a result of poor distribution of teachers. There are infrastructural gaps. There are many factors that militate, effective delivery of teaching and learning. And so, yes, we agree that the environment where the teacher operates and is expected to deliver good results by way of learning is not conducive. And in many instances, it's actually inimical to learning. But a solution to that is not deploying deviant means or illegal means of, faking teacher performance through faking student performance, through examination malpractice. That is not the way to go. So while we continue to advocate and influence government policies and budgets towards improving basic education financing, especially equitable distribution of resources, it is important that our teachers who find themselves in those situations appreciate that we do not know the challenges they go through. And so they don't need to go to that height, to prove themselves as capable. For me, is important. Last year, it was called on the government to remove all WAEC results and BECE results, KPIs in the performance contract of teachers, because that was a major driver. If in my contract I have to ensure that I have 60% pass in maths, I will get it through any means if I'm not disciplined. And this mechanism to check how I get the result are not in place, because if I don't get it, it will affect my promotion. It will affect how I progress in my career. And so it's important that we move from such, exam-based, indicators to other process or pro-learning, based indicators, where you're able to gauge that true learning is taking place as a result of quality teaching than just examination results. There are many countries in Africa here and in South America where the KPIs are not examination results, but they are intermediate indicators that when you meet, it will be difficult for you not to produce good results in examination.
Mr. Sari, before you go, just tell us really what your expectations are as the students embark on this BECE starting from today.
Well, as I said, the BECE is only meant to determine who goes to Canton Senior High School or who goes to Achimota Senior High School. My expectation is that our students will appreciate it as that, and then relax, and then let us know what they've learned, and then everybody will get a school to attend. But I can't go off without saying this again, that it is time we move from this 9 to 11 standard BECE high stakes examination to one that allows students to write only 4 papers: math, English, science, and general paper. Because the BECE is no longer a certification examination where one is writing it because they are finished basic school and they get a certificate. It is now a Ghana-only examination in which is only used for school placement purposes. And so we see it as too stressful to undertake to subject students through this high-stakes one-week examination of two papers a day, when you can just have them examined in the core subjects and then one general paper which will have sections in all the subjects, so that reduces the stress level and the anxiety that it brings on the students. At the end of the day, it only determines who goes to Presec or who goes to Labone Senior High School. That's what BECE is used for. So government must consider reforming its high-stakes data to reduce the stress level on the students and also reduce the budget, because we do so, we're reducing the budget of BECE by at least 40%. Thank you.
Indeed. Thank you very much as well. Thank you so much, Mr. Kofi Asare, Executive Director of the Africa Education Watch. Thank you for spending your morning with us and for sharing those thoughts with us as well. We do have our first caller on the line. Peter T joins us live. Good morning to you, Peter T. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, Beatrice, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing very well. How are you yourself?
Good. How are your colleagues, Cookie T and Roland?
Yes, Cookie is well. Roland is equally well. Nashoko, everybody is well. Thank you.
We thank God. Beatrice, let me seize the opportunity to greet these people. Aladi Yaya Kondo, liaison officer, National Security Operations. Honorable Ma, the National Democratic Congress, is the director for election. And Mr. Emmanuel Ashali Tete, Greater Regional Liaison Officer, National Security. Finally, Aladi Chairman Ava is also the former chairman for National Democratic Congress. Beatrice, I listened to your guest who just finished speaking, and then he was alluding to the fact that there are some measures that have been put in place to curtail some of these malpractices and other means of, ways of getting the students supported when it comes to writing the exam. But I was expecting to be specific of those measures that they want to take. Because
he mentioned at least mobile phones of invigilators, which are normally taken before exams now, which is one major step. It's one of the things he mentioned.
But is that enough? Because some of the reports that I had were that it's not only about the mobile phone. They write and then put it under the desk of these students for them to copy. So all those things must also, yes, they put this thing in their pocket, the teachers. So some of these things, I've been a teacher through about 16, 17 years when I was in school. So some of these things must be seen curtailed so that students will not take advantage all the time. Because if you do this, we should not allow activities that are not in conformity with our cultural values affect our traditional values. Ghana, we are different people. Our culture, our traditions are different. So when we are doing things, we should do things that will take good care of our future, not to manipulate the system. These are some of the things that when we practice from here, when we get to the higher offices, we become the bank officers, the ministers, and whatever, then you see that the tail continues. It cannot stop because they practice it from a certain level. So please, let us adopt more measures that will make a reasonable curtailment of some of these malpractices. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Peter T, for calling in and for sharing the thoughts with us. We do have Collins on the line. Collins, good morning to you. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yes, good morning, Beatrice. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Please tell us where you're calling us from.
Yes, as you know, my name is Collins from Amma Mole.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, in the Gandalf Municipal. Let me take this opportunity to greet my constituents, global constituency. I greet them all this morning. And NDC Data Crime Regional Chairman, Honorable E. Ashimo, and Deputy CEO of the Mashipia, Peter Aposi, fantastic man. Look, I hear the man you interview him right now, and I wish all the candidates well. But last year, I'm very happy we didn't hear any apport. So this year we are continuing on that because we should make the children write what they have learned. It's simple and short. You can't just give something that he didn't know anything about it to give to him or her. That look, take this and write for my school to progress. That for this school ABC, always be patient, always be patient. It's absent. You should let the children learn what they have learned and leave them and write what they have learned and pass. Simple and short. It has become many. Now, it's not about Akufo-Addo and Bawumia regime. It's long time ago. So pleading. Last year, we are this country. We didn't hear any apport. This year, God willing, we shall allow under President Mahama and NDC. No way. Let me leave it here and let my friends also continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Collins, calling us from Amalole. We do have another caller on the line. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Please tell us your name, where you're calling us from.
Good morning, my sister. My name is Baba Katan. I'm calling from Eskar Katan constituency.
I'm sorry, I missed both of them. Your name and the area.
I'm there from Katan, Eskar Katan constituency.
Okay. Please go ahead with your point.
Thank you, my sister. Let me thank my regional chairman and whoever you are. You do a fantastic job for NDC, for this region. We are feeling our constituency executive. You vote for man. You do a fantastic job. My sister, let me pray my child right exam this morning. We are doing a fantastic job. What you are right, something you are learned. That is why you are exam them. You are praying to God guide them to write this exam. Because our future, if this child you are right exam today, you are telling to them to fear God, to focus what you are doing this morning. You are killing them. Thank you, my sister.
Thank you very much for calling in and for sharing your thoughts with us. The numbers are still displayed on your screen, so you can call in and share with us what you think about what we are talking about this morning. But a number of you have already sent in so many of your messages. And perhaps I can start from okay, let me start from Aziz Dola, who says, good morning. And says the contractor on the, okay, he's not really talking about what we are talking about, but he's actually concerned about contractor on Wenchibole Wahamle Road, says isn't doing anything. And so those who gave the contract to him must question him just so he does what he's supposed to do on that road. Abbas Offenso says, I'm wishing all BECE candidates the best of luck as they start BECE today. Greetings to lawyer Abbas Nuruddin, aspiring National Communications Officer. Thank you very much, Abbas Offenso, for sending in your message. I believe that you actually are sending in the message from Offenso. I read a lot more of your messages, but we do have another caller on the line. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us on this morning segment on Newday on TV3. Tell us your name, where you're calling us from.
Good morning.
Good morning. This is Beatrice.
Beatrice, yeah. Thanks very much for having me.
Sure.
Today being my first time. I've been trying several years, but not getting through.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much for calling in. Congratulations.
Welcome.
We're happy to have you. Please share your thoughts with us.
For this examination malpractices, I think a lot could be done today. Okay, I'm a teacher myself.
Okay.
There's this league table previously that we brought that comparing schools to each other, that this school has greater part. And even there was a time there was threat on teachers. If your school don't perform well, you will be sanctioned. So you saying this to teachers and heads, what are you expecting? You see, I believe that this league table should be off and allow the teachers to concentrate. Moreover, this assistant they brought, sometimes you teach a student, you give assignment, they will not do it. Back in the days, our time, when we were punished and you were given assignment, you go home, you do it. Who are you to come to school without assignment done?
Yes.
But here is the case now, you are not allowed to punish a student. So if the student does the assignment or not, he has to continue. You can't do anything to the student. And again, I overheard the was saying that the subjects are too plain. It's never too much. We're able to work through 10 subjects and we're able to make it. As they keep on reducing the subject, it makes the student not being able to explore. So I believe we should keep it on. If it is possible, we should go back to the 1990s syllabus and then try it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for calling in and for sharing those thoughts with us. And let me continue with some of the comments you've sent us. Mr. Simon Yenwa says, good morning, Beatrice. The Lone Ranger this morning. Thank you, Mr. Simon Yen. Says, trust the rest are fine. Yes, they're all doing well. Beatrice, I wish to use your media to wish all our BECE candidates across the country success in the exams that begins this morning. I wish to encourage them to do independent work. Says independent work is the only way of giving a true reflection of oneself and lays the foundation of what they will be in future. I therefore urge WAEC to crack the whip on all persons connected with exams malpractices. Greetings to my son Aziz Donla, incoming Upper West Regional Communications Officer of the NDC. Mr. Simon Yeng sending us a message from WA in the Upper West Region. Thank you very much for your message. This is coming from Sherry Giovanni. He says, I wish all the candidates the best of luck. May God crown their efforts with success. I urge them to refrain from all forms of examination malpractices and focus on what their teachers taught them, because this year WAEC has serialized all the questions. I humbly plead with WAEC officials to make sure the centers are free from intimidation to enable these little ones, especially those in the countryside, feel free to write the exams. Good morning to Miss Miriam Oga of UEW and Miss Agnes Che. That's coming from Sherry Giovanni. Thank you very much for your message. This is coming from Chachu Chikata Jr. He says, good morning, Beatrice, Edu, and your entire strategic crew. Good morning. I would like to use this platform to wish all BECE candidates sitting for their examinations today a very successful outcome, especially brilliant ones, young ones here in WAEC constituency. Not forgetting my good people of Bienye. Stay calm, read carefully, and give it your very best. May Almighty Allah grant you wisdom, clarity of mind, and excellent results. Rest assured that President John Mahama and the National Democratic Congress are working tirelessly to reform the education sector so that you and your future generations can enjoy better and brighter future. Make WAEC and Ghana proud. Good luck. Greetings to my hardworking MP for WAEC constituency, Peter Lanchini Chobu, coming from Chachu Chikata Jr. And perhaps I can read this. Okay. This is coming from Kwamana CDT Ahafo Atrensia. Good morning, Beatrice. On behalf of the team of Honorable Abebu, incoming Regional Chairman, hopeful, we wish our brothers and sisters who write the BECE today the very best of luck in their examinations. So many of you have sent in your messages. I'm sorry I'm unable to read all of them, but thank you all of you for sending in your messages. I can see Mustafa Loa Manya Krobo, as well as from Master Planner Junior, and all of you sending in your messages. Thank you so much for your messages. And let me remind you that you can pack up your day the Milky Way with the rich, smooth taste of peck milk shortcake. It is just pure delight. I always say, go to any grocery shop near you and you will get to have all the flavors you love: coconut, cocoa, and all other flavors. And so, yes, get it for your breakfast, your brunch, or whichever one, however you like to enjoy your biscuits. And you're still here on Newday on TV3. My name is Beatrice. When we come back, we'll bring you the big issue, sports, and some more. Do stay with us. like I did say, we've already had the government and also members of the opposition talking about this. First of all, I want us to watch the Member of Parliament for Fuansie Yiribi, Kojo Opon Kroma, telling us about his perspective of this statement that was released by the Bank of Ghana. And then I will introduce our panel for this morning to you.
When the NDC party, including non-MPs, came to Parliament, to the precincts of Parliament to hold a press conference to announce the audited accounts of the Bank of Ghana, was an illegality. Not only was it an illegality, it was an amount, or it was an act of blatant politicization of the Bank of Ghana and its work. The governor, the board, and the government should take note that this politicization of the central bank will create issues for the operational independence and credibility of the bank going forward. This policy insolvency is as a result of new policies that they have introduced at the bank. The implication of this is that the bank now requires an urgent bailout before it can perform its core mandate. On the watch of the NDC, for the first time in our history, the Bank of Ghana has become policy insolvent. Government and its spin doctors, led by the NDC party officials who did that press conference, are trying to convince the people of Ghana that their loss is 15.6 billion Ghana cedis. We regret to tell the people of Ghana that this is not true. The true operating loss of the Bank of Ghana for the year 2025 is 34.9 billion Ghana cedis. And in fact, if you add back the sale of the gold, or the proceeds from the sale of the gold, the 9.6 that I've just shown you, the true comprehensive loss position of the Central Bank of Ghana is 44. Economic dashboard is one half of the story. The other half is what is on the streets, the lived experience of the people that we've always been talking about. Manufacturers are reporting weaker order books in 2025 than in 2024. Power supply, as I'm sure you are all aware, remains a concern in many parts of the country. Ordinary households report that the cost of living remains high relative to wages. As for cocoa farmers, you know what is going on. Some government workers, particularly teachers and nurses, are in precarious conditions because they are not being paid after several months of work. So stability of numbers, respectfully, is not the same as stability of livelihoods. A stable city without a thriving private sector is incomplete stability.
Your call is clear.
And you just watched the Kojo Opon Kroma. He's the Member of Parliament for Fuansie. He'll be representing the minority in Parliament, of course, giving the group's perspective of this statement, as it were, released by the Bank of Ghana covering the year 2025. Let me introduce my panel here. I do have in the studio with me Lawyer Godwin Edudzi Kojo Tamaklo, Acting CEO, National Petroleum Authority. Good morning to you.
I'm a confirmed CEO. I had to go through a very rigorous interview session, so maybe correct your record. But that said, I want to thank you this morning and say that you're looking good.
Thank you.
My good brother, Fifi, and my learned friend, good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us. Of course, Lawyer Edudzi Tamaklo just introduced my two other panel members. Andrew Apia Dankwa, Director of Legal, United Party. It's great to have you here this morning.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
And of course, I do have as well Mr. Fifi as well, who is with former CEO of the Ghana Cocoa Board, and thank you very actually former Director of Public Affairs, Fifi Boafo.
That's a big elevation.
Thank you very much for joining us. Good morning to you.
Good morning. The pleasure is mine.
And in the course of the conversation, we'll be hearing from the Member of Parliament for Sanerigu in the northern region, Ata Issa, who has also been commenting, defending, as it were, the government's position on the loss of the Bank of Ghana, 15.6 billion Ghana cedis. But I want to start with you, Mr. Fifi Boafo. On what basis does the MPP say that what has been released, the audited statement as released by the Bank of Ghana, is more than what we have been told, 15.6? You're claiming that is almost 44 billion Ghana cedis.
Yes,
on what basis?
Thank you very much. Did I hear you say that you also call Honorable Atta to join the conversation?
He's already spoken, so we'll just be hearing him.
But would you be calling Kujo Nkrumah?
I beg your pardon?
Would you be calling Kujo Nkrumah as well? He's also spoken about
No,
it.
we've played Mr. Kojo Nkrumah, so we are just going to play the video of Mr. Yes, majority side. Perhaps if it is ready, we can actually watch it before. Okay, so I've already asked you the question. Please go ahead.
That's fine. Thanks for the opportunity. I think that it's important for us as a country to look at a way of governing that's improve the livelihood of the people instead of selling a narrative to the people, just like what the NDC government seeks to do. It's interesting to realize that even though the laws of the law governing the Bank of Ghana has spelled out how this information ought to be shared, the NDC as a political party decided rather to find a way of putting it out and putting a spin to it. Because really, what will be the reason for the NDC members of parliament together with party officials moving to parliament to hold a press conference just to create a narrative to us as a people instead of allowing the process to run? Yes, it was supposed to go to the minister was supposed to submit it to parliament, and then the conversation starts from there. That is a clear indication to you, if you are a listener or a viewer. You should know that there's really something, or there's a reason why they have decided to use this path in communicating the information instead of allowing the process to run as it was supposed to be.
But what is wrong with that? We have freedom of speech. Government would want to communicate what's going on in the country.
Freedom of speech, but then the same freedom is enshrined in our constitution. The constitution also tells us that we are supposed to follow laws. The laws that establish the Bank of Ghana has given you a way of communicating government information or information relating to the Bank of Ghana when it comes to their audited accounts. So why do you choose to use a different way?
But the BOG boss actually talked about it. He actually gave us details. The Bank of Ghana itself has spoken.
I'm not saying that the Bank of Ghana has not spoken. All I'm just saying is that the Bank of Ghana has a way of communicating its information. And then if the Bank of Ghana that has a way of communicating information this time round decides to go against what has been prescribed by the laws of the Bank of Ghana, then it should tell you something, that they are intended to give you an information, a narrative. Of course, every PR person will want you to have a story in a certain perspective. And that's exactly what the NDC is doing. Settings, since they came into office, at every point in time, they want to give you a certain perspective. And indeed, with the governance itself, what they are doing is to give you a certain perspective, let you have a certain understanding instead of the reality. What is the reality? The reality is that government has decided to walk a certain path. The path that the government decided to walk is resulting in a deficit of 40 billion. And they say that, oh, well, it has resulted in inflation of about 3%. So we should clap for them. Ask yourself, is that the reality? Is that what we are feeling? I do not think so, because my electricity bill has gone up over 28%. Fuel, ADOG is here. How much am I paying for fuel today? It's gone up. So if you come back and tell me that despite my reality of paying more for the basic things I buy, the basic things I purchase, you've still gone ahead to spend so much in doing so, then it gives me a reason to question what was the basis of the decision you took to commit us as a country to that. You know, the Bank of Ghana, you asked a specific question about why are we saying that it is not 15 billion. They talked about the fact that, well, it is just 15 billion. But one lie they told us, which is also a part of the spin or the narrative the NDC decides to create, is that talk about the IFRS accounting system used in doing the accounting for the Bank of Ghana this time around. Their document itself says otherwise. They decided to say that, okay, well, we treat this account this way, we treat that account that way. And for that reason, we don't put everything together, so it gives you another. But one very worrying trend, or one very worrying thing that happened, which the Honorable Kojo Nkrumah talked about, is the selling of gold as a way of reducing the debt or the losses of the Bank of Ghana. Why did he sell it? Was there some pressure on government to do that? If there was a pressure, where did that pressure come from? And let's get this clear. The gold was there. Government actually told us that, well, as a way of cushioning us as a country, let's buy gold, let's keep the gold. But at the time the Bank of Ghana bought the gold, the purpose of buying the gold was not to reduce the losses of the BOG. Now they are telling you, oh yeah, we've reduced our losses, so at least we are solvent. What it means is that, in very simple terms, you have a shop, you have your capital you trade with. The capital you trade with, you've incurred some losses. So you decide that, okay, the very counter you put your ware on, you decide to sell it. You decide to sell the chair you sit on when you go to the shop. You decide to sell the table, maybe even the door. You decide to sell it. Just so you are able to say that, well, I still have capital to do business. Are you still able to operate the way you were operating in the past? That is the question we need to ask ourselves. So this time around, they decided to sell the gold. Tomorrow or next year, what else would they sell? And what we need to note as Ghanaians is the fact that with all this happening, we as citizens are going to pay for this government action of trying to look good or create a certain narrative in the eyes of the people. Because I heard the BOG talk about the fact that, well, they are discussing with government for government to do recapitalization. Where is that money going to come from? That money is going to come from me as a taxpayer. It's going to come from you as a taxpayer. And that is the very reason why we should be worried about this whole idea of government trying to create a narrative for us. Another thing which is important to note is, how did we even get to this point? You remember, before the NDC came into office, there was a dynamic ratio account system where the Bank of Ghana was able to say that if you are not giving X amount of your reserves as loans to the citizens, you keep the money with the Bank of Ghana. This time round, the NDC took over as part of the reset agenda, decided to say that, well, it's not a good thing, it does not favor the banks, for which reason the dynamic ratio arrangement is taking off.
And you're claiming that the measures the NDC has put in place, you haven't seen anything, because as far as we are concerned, inflation has dropped. And I did say earlier that this is not the first time we're having or seeing losses with the Bank of Ghana. As you're aware, in 2022, when inflation was 54% plus, the Bank of Ghana lost about 60.9 billion Ghana cedis. Again, in 2023, the BOG lost 10.5, and then in 2024, 9.5. And the government says that this is as a result of stabilizing the economy. It is also as a result of the cedi getting stronger against the US dollar. Obviously, it would reduce how much you get from your foreign money, as it were, among a few other things that the government has put out. You do not think that these are valid reasons enough for us to see this loss that we're being told by the BOG?
I was talking about the dynamic reserve ratio policy. I'll get back to the question you asked, but then just so that I flow. This was an arrangement in place where government was not to pay 16 billion to commercial banks as a way of mopping up capital from the system. Government, the NDC government, as part of the reset agenda, decided to take off that arrangement and then rather pay 16 billion as a way of sterilizing money from the system. The question is, in whose interest is the BOG working for, such that you take the dynamic reserve ratio policy off, rather spend money in sterilizing money from the system? So that is the question government and ADOG probably will have to answer for us, that what really was the essence of that arrangement. You're talking about the fact that, yes, pumping in this money is a way of reducing inflation. Yes, you've mopped up capital, but when you mop up capital from the system, the question you also need to ask yourself is that, how beneficial is that to ordinary business owners? Because if government was not mopping up all this capital, the money was going to be available to business owners who can then do business, get money into the system, and then get businesses running. I am sure we all hear the talk in town, Sikeni Krum. Sikeni Krum no, is simply because government has decided to spend 16 billion to mop up the cash from the system. And you say that Sikeni Krum, so people are unable to buy. And that is the reason why you have farmers complaining all over. That yes, we have produced, yes, the price may have stayed where it is, but we are still unable to buy. Another thing which is important is what you talk about, well, we've brought down inflation to 3%. If you brought down inflation to 3%, why must I pay 28% increase in my electricity? If you go into the basket, the inflation basket, the things that concern us, oil, fish, electricity, water, these are basic needs of the people. We are paying more. I am paying more to drive my car because fuel price has gone up, but I still have to pay 16 billion for mopping up money from the system.
You know the reason the fuel price has gone up. You know what's happening with the Strait of Hormuz and the war that has been sustained for a long time. But I'll come back to you.
Wait a minute. So today, what happens at the international level should affect me.
I will come back to you.
No, I think Doji disagrees with that position.
I will come back to you. Lawyer Pierre Dankwa, what's your thoughts on really what has been shared by both sides?
So let me wish your lovely viewers a good morning. Let me wish my brother Fifi a good morning. At least he has tried. He didn't subjugate himself to some probably stammering like one of your colleagues.
Stammering?
Not just stammering. Probably stammering on Saturday on Joy Prime. One of your colleagues, which my learned friend, Eduji. You also a good morning. And yourself a good morning. You see, for me, what MPP has done, the attempt to expand the scope of the report, I think gives me the right to even expand it further. Because see, what the report did was to tell us in the report that Bank of Ghana, as of today, has a negative equity of 96 billion. And I feel that it gives us the right to go into what constitutes that negative equity. Now, when you read the entire report, the conclusion I personally come to is a story that is akin to a baby poo-pooing and the mother running away and a passing by woman comes and then cleans the mess away. That's exactly what, in my opinion, has happened. Because in that 96 billion is a huge component of 48 billion, which is as a result of the DDEP. 48 billion, which is as a result of the DDEP. So the question is, how did the DDEP happen? Who caused or who pushed Ghana into a situation where we had a DDEP? You understand? Because the DDEP was an evidence of a radical failure of fiscal policy between 2016 to 2022. Radical failure of fiscal policy. And that debt, that loss, being placed on the books of Bank of Ghana was a clear case of a fiscal crisis being transferred to the central bank. Clear. And the DDP was caused by the MPP. The bad management of our economy, a decision to spend 400 million Ghana cedis on 1D1F and 5 billion on NABCO. It was the MPP. It was the MPP that promised us that, listen, we were going to deal with the principle of the hatarization of the city. If you know the principle of the hatarization of the city. City na hata. City no aye hata. So I'm going to give Ghana a man who was a combination of Messi, Maradona, you know Ronaldo Nazario, the proper Ronaldo. Cristiano Ronaldo in economics. In economics, that is exactly Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. And he came, you know Osman Amadou. He came and delivered Osman Amadou type of striking. You know Osman Amadou.
So is that why we have a 44 billion?
Yes, because the DDP for the first time in the history of this country, and my learned friend educated. He's also an economist. Economy 101, what does he say? That the safest place to place your money is with government. And for the first time, monies were placed with government. The government says what? I cannot pay. I cannot pay. And government then places that huge loss on the books of Bank of Ghana. So that's the first point. Now within that 48 billion was a 32 billion which was written off. The question is, did they write that off with parliamentary approval? Now that's the first part of the story. The second part is that the 16 billion that they are talking about, the 16 billion, it was the cost of bringing inflation down. Now the inflation, that went to 55. And even though they claim that it came to 23.8,
is it a claim or the reality?
Or it was under your watch.
But the 23,
so don't say that 23. But okay, you even the 23.
You have the opportunity.
But even the 23, that was catastrophic.
That's a friendly reminder.
That was catastrophic. Inflation at 23.8. You get a picture. Now there could not have been, or there can't be a reset of the economy of Ghana where inflation still hovers at 23.8%. You know, you mentioned that 60-something billion.
60.9 billion.
That was the printed money. So too much money in the system. MPP. So that there was a need for government to spend money to mop up all those excess liquidity out of the system. Now, how do you do that? It meant that Bank of Ghana had to issue some bonds or some papers. Those bonds and papers comes at a cost. The interest is a cost. You understand? So the reason for that cost was because of the management of the economy by the MPP. And that's what I mean by a mother gives baby bad food, baby poo-poos, and runs away. So another woman passing by has to come and mop it. And that's the cost. So invariably, they are the reason for that cost. Now, what's the third component? Because they said it's not just 16 billion. Now, it has a certain 19 point something billion. Now, what was now exchange rates had gone up the roof. In this country, we're here. You know the hattarization. Signal hatta. The reason why another said signal hatta was because at that point, the $1 was up to about 2 cedis or so. Indeed, he even said that he expected that His Excellency Joam at that time would resign, but the envelope under the table. Now he came, brought Messi, Maradona, Ronaldo Nazario, Cristiano Ronaldo, and who became Osman Amadou. The dollar to a cedi at some point went all the way to 17. When he didn't resign, he did it at some point. At some point, it got to 17. When you were leaving, it was around 14.5, 15.
So you're doing black market now?
No, it got to 17 at some point. No,
Bank of Ghana never recorded 17.
Okay,
but if you went out, the dollar rate was that high.
It is. You know what? If you are making reference to official figures, you make reference to official. You don't make reference to. No. So
you want to
don't do that. Don't be deliberate.
You got at some point it was 17.
And tell what is not correct.
It was 17 at some point. Yeah, you understand? Now when you're leaving
from the banks or from Bank of Ghana,
it was 17 at some point, and then by the time you were leaving, it was around.
From black market,
40.5.
So you go to black market.
40.5, 50. What is this? You are not going to get a chatting.
Come on, don't do black market analysis on
when you're living, you got around 40.5, 15. You get now. Nobody resigned. Can I make counsel? You are my counsel here. Can I make that assumption rightly that there are a lot of envelopes under the table? We don't know. But the point is, to get the economy credible, to put the economy in a level where there can be proper reset, then you need to bring that high level of the exchange rate down. Now, what was the cost to that? The cost to that was the gold reserve program. You understand? The 19 point something. Now, who put us in a situation where we need to do that? So the point I'm making is that the NPP are the last people who are seized with any kind of credibility to be speaking on these matters. Because at the end of the day, this is the cost that they've caused Ghana to incur to reset our monetary policy.
It was 16.4 in November 2024.
And what?
$1.
And it was what?
16.4 Ghana cedis.
In November?
In November 2024.
You see, oh. Fifi. Yeah, you see. So this is the cost, the stability, the stability of the cedi we are seeing now. For the first time in my life, the cedi gaining grounds on the dollar. You understand? Did not just happen by chance. It happened because of deliberate monetary policy. You understand? And I'm surprised to have an issue with the constitutional mandate of the Bank of Ghana. You understand? To get stability. Because that's the constitutional mandate. And this is the cost we had to pay for it. And we had to pay this cost because of the criminal management of the economy by the MPP. And so the MPP will have the mouth to speak because our brothers in the NDC have been slow with enforcing accountability. Like I give you an example, 32 billion of the DDP cost was written off without parliamentary approval. People ought to be held accountable for this criminal management of our economy. And you see, we have run a country where people come, they mess up. When they go into opposition, they quickly turn and want to become like as if they care about the country. No, that jandam won't be allowed. Right now, we won't forget because we are writing a story. We are writing a story for Ghana, and we are already in the 9th chapter. What happened in the 7th and 8th chapters matter. And what happened in the 7th and 8th chapters were a criminal management of the economy of this country, to the extent that one of the fundamental reasons which we had to consider when we went to the polls in 2024 was how do we restore the credibility of our economy? How do we restore that after how they managed our economy? And now you want to pontificate and you want to expand. Then we will expand. And in that expansion, there must be a cry for accountability. There must be a cry for accountability. And that accountability is not only us having voted them out, but there must be proper accountability. We must go into the figures. We must go into why our economy sank to an extent where Bank of Ghana needed to spend this amount of money just to bring about stability. You understand? And so for me, you see, Ghanaians, we should get our minds clear. Right? We ought to be asking ourselves serious questions. This morning, I heard news that His Excellency John Mahama is saying that right now we are going to the second level of the research agenda, which is right now there's stability. But you see, when you just keep yourself stable, you will go down. Right now, we ought to grow. And that's where the 24-hour economy law comes in handy. Because when you read that law, you are talking about the institutionalization of a desire to build small and medium-scale enterprises. And the institutionalization of a desire not to do what the Osman Adu, the mercy they promised and Osman Amadou they delivered, that criminal decision to spend 400 million Ghana just on 1D, 1F and 5 billion on a NABCO. Because what happened? What caused these issues, the DDP, the criminal levels of inflation, the reversal of the Hattarization, the failure to reverse the principle of the Hattarization of the cedi was a terrible use of fiscal policy. And having criminally used their fiscal policy, they wrote all those damages onto Bank of Ghana. So we should not take the MPP serious. Let's stay focused and let's build a country. Let's build on this stability we have. Understand? By deliberately building small medium-scale enterprises. Let's use our fiscal policy to engender growth. Let's build a nation that is strong economically to the extent that Bank of Ghana will not be used as toilet roll. Have you watched the rise and fall of Idi Amin, where the Uganda Central Bank said Uganda money is stolen, and that's what Nebu and Osman Amadou did to Ghana. And you must not be allowed to pontificate because you have no credibility at all.
Let me get to the thoughts of lawyer Digitamaklo. Mr. Fifi Boafo is saying that you're throwing dust in the eyes of Ghanaians. And why are you not even following the procedure of announcing some of these things? But because he seems to suggest that there's an agenda the government is setting with communicating these figures. That's why you're going about things the way you are.
Okay, so Beatrice, once again, good morning. I think that to have a better appreciation of the issues, I think we need to put some of the conversation in proper context. First of all, I'm reminded of Matthew chapter 25, verses 14 to 30. The parable of the talents. A group of people were given this country to govern, like the master. He gave them talents. And these talents that they were given for 8 years, when they were leaving, the master called back for accountability. That accountability was that they left us inflation of 23%. At a point, inflation went as far as 54% in 2022. And at the time when inflation was 54%, there were only 2 countries south of the Sahara that were doing better than South Sudan and Zimbabwe. That is your record. 2, you left us exchange rates of almost 15 Ghana cedi to $1 by the time you left office. At a point in November 2022, the exchange rate went as far as 17 Ghana cedis, 10 pesos to $1. That is what the parable of the talent teaches us, and that's your record. What was your interest rate? Terrible. Now, at the point in our history, in 2023, when the Bank of Ghana projected its numbers, its financials, we realized that the BOG debt or loss was almost 60 billion Ghana cedis. So even if for anything at all, we will not take any lesson on competence from your lot, because we have not gotten anywhere close to your 60 billion that you left this economy in 2022. But do you know what happened? For a long time when they came to power, they depended on Eurobonds. So the first time they went to Franklin Templeton. Then subsequently they were doing actual Eurobonds. Not, averagely they were doing $2 billion annually. So in the space of 6 years, they had done $11 billion of Eurobond. In 2022, they wanted to go for another Eurobond. Then we were downgraded by the international rating agencies. So immediately, do you know what happened? The Bank of Ghana stepped in and started providing them. And that is what saw the criminal printing of money into the economy. Now, you see, we all do know, anybody that has read monetary economics will tell you that when you put more money into the system and productivity is not able to average that conversation, eventually what is going to happen is that more money will chase the fewer goods in the system. And that is why you will notice that in 2022, by close of 2022, inflation went up to 54%. Because what happened was that the Bank of Ghana started printing more money into the economy. But productivity could not correspond with that printing of money. That took inflation to 54%. Now, fast forward, they now started managing that inflationary pressure till they got to 23 by, in 2 years, it took them 2 years to get to 23% from 54. But today, in the space of 15 months or less, what have we done? Aggressive sterilization. But you see, there's always a cost. And for economists, they'll tell you there's always a cost-benefit analysis that you do. When you sterilize, when you move money out of the system, you need to pay interest on it. Basic economics. Because the only way that you can do it through the monetary policy operation is that people expect you to pay something higher before they will get in. And that is when you have to encourage their savings habits. And so eventually what happened is that we have to spend money in pulling out the system. Do you know how much we pull out of the system? Almost 60 billion Ghana cedis. That was the excess of liquidity in the system. Who runs an economy like this? Fifi. And this morning you sit on this platform and pontificate on better management on the economy. How do you do that? I mean, with respect, Fifi, where is shame?
You had a benefit. People gave you their mandate. Manage this economy for them. You play chaskele with it. You destroy people's livelihood. Since Achampon's time, have you seen any government, Fifi, openly declare that I am not in position to pay my interest on monies I've borrowed from people? Fifi, in your life, have you seen a situation where a government openly declare that I am insolvent? That is DDEP, insolvency. The whole country became insolvent under your watch. And this morning, you want to, blind us, tell us that you are better managers of what economy? A DDEP economy? For the first time in your life, have you seen pensioners, basically go on demonstration because government took their money? Professor Eric Osasibe, he taught me monetary economics at the University of Ghana. One of the things that we're told, that government securities were the safest and that any other thing can happen, but government will never, renege when you take their securities. MPP defied that economic principle in 8 years. And today you sit here and tell us what are really the interventions? You expected that the NDC government comes in and allow the excess liquidity to be in the system, to erode all the gains we have made. Who does that?
Gains.
You actually struggled in bringing inflation down. Do you know why?
But do you also realize that it was the same policy was targeting to bring inflation to 11 in 2025?
I listen to you.
So why do you make it look like
I listen to you? You see,
he's inviting me.
If you look at the expenses, one of the biggest single expense had to do with the 16 billion on the monetary operations. Obviously, if you are pulling out, you have to pay interest on it.
Yeah.
Is it not a justified expense? Absolutely justified. But when you got the opportunity, my question is, you could not manage the exchange rate to the point that, with respect, our exchange rate got to 17 Ghana cedis to a dollar.
16.4 in.
No, in fact, at a point it got to 17.
Where did you get that figure from?
Please.
No, it got to 17. Where? You should point to it.
We'll deal with where we got it. But you see,
that's misinformation.
Beatrice, let's get it correct. When your exchange rate is 17, okay, Ghana cedi to a dollar, because we're taking money, loans and others, we have to service it, correct? So if you are servicing a debt of $1 billion, you need to go and buy $1 billion worth to go and service that debt, correct? So for every $1 billion, get it, you needed 17 billion Ghana cedi to get $1 billion, correct? Because of how you mismanage the exchange rate, we needed 17 billion just to get 1 billion. Today, the same economy, the same 1 billion, you need a little over 11 billion. So there's a savings of 16 billion Ghana cedis that you can use for free SHS. You've forgotten? Basic. Because that money would have gone into only interest, just servicing our interest on our loan. Today, that is a savings that can be channeled into productivity. You don't appreciate this, Fifi. So you see, when you come and you get this platform, acknowledge. Why? It's always the case that if you look at the trajectory, the Bank of Ghana, first of all, was not set up for profit making. Basic. You people introduced the concept of loss making, obviously for accounting purpose, into our nomenclature. I've always maintained that anybody, in fact, in level 200 at the economics department in Lagos, there's a course we call Economy of Ghana. And in that course, you'll be made to appreciate all the problems that this economy had gone through from Georgesburg time to now. one thing runs through, Beatrice, is that the structure of our economy, because of its nature, we are always vulnerable. That we are taught in the economics department. Until you people decided to politicize even the structure of the economy. You remember one presidential candidate told us that in 18 months, he was going to change the structure of the economy from Gettysburg to whatever economy. 8 years came, and we are still where we are.
Mr. Tamaklo, you're saying that based on what you studied, our economy is vulnerable because of the structure.
Yes.
But you didn't agree that it was vulnerable when the COVID struck and all of that. You said that it was because of mismanagement.
No. Anybody that had followed our conversation would tell you that, first of all, we acknowledge the impact of COVID on our economy. But what we were quick to add is the fact that COVID brought an unprecedented 21 billion Ghana cedis into the economy. We were able to access the $1 billion rapid credit facility, $1 billion special drawing rights, $630 million from the World Bank. Put together, we had 21 billion Ghana cedis into the economy by reason of COVID. What did you use it for? In fact, Ken Oforiatta himself commissioned an audit on COVID expenses. COVID money was shared like granules among MPP executives. Oh, you don't know? You forgot it.
Evidence.
Please, what evidence?
We had one of the party executives in
exactly
the confirming that
in
some
the year
monies had been used for other stuff.
In the 2020 election,
and I'll come
funds
to your responses. I'll come to you.
But you see, let me don't worry. Let me even come back to the issue. That is what. But you see, in the same 2020. Because Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia wanted to win the 2020 election at all costs, they took our budget deficit to 15%, the highest ever. That is how they criminally mismanaged the economy. So it is not the case that the NDC downplayed the influence of COVID-19. We acknowledge it, except to say that the 2020 election resulted in a 15% budget deficit because people wanted to win election at all costs. But let me just conclude on this. When you strengthen the Ghanaian cedi, the benefit to the ordinary person can never be, underestimated. We all here know that we are a net importer. Any country that is a net importer of productivity or goods and services knows the essence of its currency. And that is why one time presidential candidate once told us, when in doubt, observe the exchange rate. By reason of Bank of Ghana's intervention, through the activities of Gold Board, we saw a situation where we repatriated into the economy $10 billion of foreign repatriation into the economy. The solution the MPP had for foreign repatriation was Eurobond. We've not taken one Eurobond in over 15 months, but the Ghana cedi is stable. That is the effect of sound management, thinking outside the box. You had a benefit and you squandered it. And you see, we will not permit any group of people to gaslight the people of this country into believing that you had any superior knowledge in management of the economy. You got the opportunity, you squandered it. Now, in terms of direct impact, you see, and I'll conclude on this, most of our power purchases agreements, the tariffs are in dollars, correct? Yeah. That's why you say kilowatt cents per so and so. If you put your mind and you manage the economy, there will definitely be benefit to our people. Now, when you connect it and say fuel prices have increased, my brother, there's nothing wrong acknowledging that for over 13 months, the price of fuel was lower than what you left. But for what is happening currently, because the record shows, and Beatrice, I conclude on this, the record shows that before 28 February 2026, a metric ton of diesel was costing $695. That same metric ton today is over $1,200. That's the record.
Let me ask you this briefly
Please
before
ahead.
I come back to you, Mr. Boafo. You're saying that the NPP has politicized, politicized a lot of things, and yet we know that in 2024, when the BOG lost the 9.5, you also accused the NPP of mismanaging to an extent that even when the MPP at the time even explained that it was to stabilize the system somehow, you still felt that it was as a result of mismanagement. What would you say?
Was there stability?
Yes. What would you say to critics who would argue?
Beatrice. Let's stagger the conversation.
Let me ask my question.
Okay, go ahead.
What would you say to critics who would say that a loss is a loss, nonetheless, irrespective of the explanation?
No, that is when you consider these numbers in a binary conversation. Is either 0 or 1. But I'm saying that there is reality to these economic numbers. And that reality is to connect it to your living conditions. If you were having to go and spend 17 billion just to service $1 billion, today you are doing 11, you are having a savings of almost 6 billion on that same amount. That money you can channel into free SHS. You can channel into providing LEAP. You can channel into all other social intervention. Today, District Assembly Common Funds have been better disbursed than ever seen. So when you look at this, you can relate to living conditions better today than it is anytime. And that is why I find it a bit more curious when my brother this morning makes the point that, cocoa, maize, cashew, and all those numbers. But we do know that the reason for the lower prices is not because the economy has not been properly managed. Obviously, there's a glut. Basic economics will tell you, when supply exceeds demand, what will happen to prices? Prices will definitely fall.
And I want to get a quick response from you in just a few seconds because we have Dr. Godfred Bokpin on the line to share his thoughts with us.
Okay.
So briefly.
Thank you. It's funny how my brother decides to join Edoji in creating the impression as though spending 16 billion in sterilizing money from the market is caused by the MPP. That is really not the case. But all this conversation, what we need to ask ourselves is that what is the effect on us as Ghanaians? Yes, he says, well, it was important that we sterilize money from the system in order to ensure that we bring inflation down. But I'm saying that today, when I go to the pump to buy fuel, which Edoji Tamakulu, Health MPA and CCS admits that yes, I am paying more than what was the situation at the time the MPP was leaving office. Today, when I'm buying electricity, I pay more than what I used to pay. When I'm buying water, I pay more than I used to pay. So why would you then spend 60 billion to say that you are reducing my cost of living? But beyond that, it is important to state that when people talk about stability in unemployment, stability in the cost of food going up, stability in people not getting jobs to do, what stability is he talking about?
Which food?
Wait a minute. Is it
which food?
Rice? Oil, go to the market. You don't go to the market, so you don't even know. Please, you are the gentleman who told me. You are the gentleman who few minutes told me I should not intervene. But you see, it's important to draw attention to the fact that the people who said that the Bank of Ghana, Governor Addison, it was wrong. They called for his head for intervening to protect the Ghanaian. It was wrong. Wait, you said it was wrong for Governor Addison to do that. Today, it is everything right for Governor Siama to do that. Are you honest?
No, but how much
are you honest in doing that? If you say, wait.
How much did you print into the economy?
How much are you also printing? How much are you also printing? So allow me to proceed.
If you could wrap up for me, I need to go to Mr. Bokpin.
Okay, I'll allow you to do that. But it's important that the people who are today pontificating, claiming that, well, the Bank of Ghana must be given the opportunity to help save Ghanaians. saw everything wrong with the Bank of Ghana doing same under the MPP administration. Are they today, is it Doji today, calling for the dismissal of the BOG boss, because the BOG boss wants to be running mates, so, well, they should just package him as such?
We have time to talk.
You are lawyers sitting here. Wait a minute. You are lawyers sitting here. Wait a minute. You are lawyers sitting here calling an act criminal without basis. That's what the two of you did. You sat on this show, called activities criminal without any basis, without a shred of evidence. If it is criminal, you were the director of legal for the NDC. What have you done about that? If you call it a criminal act. But let's proceed further.
Calm down.
Wait, I am wrapping up. You cannot. Allow me to proceed. You cannot.
But if you say I should provide
I have not asked you to come in at this time. Please, would you allow me to make the point? You see the difference between what the MPP did and what these people are doing. He talked about the fact that you can it's important to sterilize money from the system.
Yes, you have time, yes.
Okay.
He talked about the fact that you need to sterilize money from the system, and it's a way of protecting the MPP. A better way of managing it was that the dynamic reserve ratio policy that was implemented. Please, would you allow me?
Right.
It was a better way to ensure that you only lodge the money with the Bank of Ghana when you are not giving it out to the public.
But what was the impact of that on Ghanaians?
The impact was to move the interest rate from 53 to 23.
I'm talking about the real impact on people.
The real impact is what we are talking about today, where people cannot find money to buy basic necessities of life. So if we are talking about impact, it is not just impact of 3 years ago or 2 years ago, it's the impact we are feeling today. I'll indulge you to...
Just very briefly, because I need to go to Dr.
CD remains volatile amid election uncertainty, trading at 17.20 to $1. A story by Emmanuel Opon, November 6, 2024. CTFM Online.
And I'll come back to you, Lawyer Tamaklo, when it is your time. I want to go to
and that makes it criminal. Like you referred to.
Good morning to you, Doc. If you can hear us.
On this panel talking about...
I'll come back to you. I'll come back to the panel. Dr. Bokwen, if you can hear us, good morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Because that's the chorus you came with.
Dr. Bokwen, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can now. Thank you very much for joining us. Let me get your own understanding of the figures given to us by the Bank of Ghana, the audited financial statement covering 2025, and really the kind of interpretations we are getting on it as an expert economist. Tell us where you stand.
Well, thank you very much. Good morning, and good morning to my seniors in the studio, and good morning to the people of Ghana. Well, it's not surprising for me seeing the results from Bank of Ghana's annual reports. We had anticipated this. It's quite interesting because all along, what we had focused our attention on was on the gains. You remember, and of course, that is also consistent with government strategy to focus on telling Ghanaians the gains. You remember the discussion about fighting illegal mining, doing responsible mining. The gold was bringing in efforts. We're pumping that into the economy to strengthen the city, to the extent that we could tell Ghanaians those gains and all of that. The cost, both in the books of Bank of Ghana, and then the implicit costs, even if you put the cost together, the environmental degradation and all of course, it didn't start under this administration. And we had been consistent. We didn't just start this year under this administration. That the cost to us, both the explicit cost, the implicit cost, if you put everything together, the damage to human life, if you put everything together, all the gains we are celebrating today will look a bit infinitesimal. If you put the entire cost, if as a country we will take our time to examine things holistically, then in that case we'll be measured in terms of the interventions and the policy mix, and then we'll be mindful to ask ourselves the cost of implementing it and the good we seek to achieve, and if we're balancing the cost overall against that, whether we should be aggressive on that part and to say, for instance, we took over the economy, of course, improvement has started, not just in 2025, okay? And whether it was prudent overall to say, let's be aggressive in the manner we did in 2025 from both the fiscal side, where we are celebrating austerity, right, in the face of enormous challenges and all of that. Remember, from the fiscal side, we promised to do a primary surplus of 1.5%. In 2025, we ended up doing 2.6%. That's quite steep, right? Then, if you look at the mix of interventions from the central bank, the aggressive strengthening of the currency, and then the increased sterilization, and then the cost at which we have arrived at this. Now that the cost is available, Ghanaians are now having the opportunity to be able to relate the cost to the good, the macroeconomic stability, and I'm sure this is where we are now and all of that. The cost looks very high. Hello?
Yes, the cost looks very high. I'm sorry, my other panel members are talking in studio, that's why. But you're saying that the cost looks very high. So are you just trying to summarize it, saying that perhaps this path is not helping as much, in as much as we've had explanations from the government that whatever it is that we're doing is to stabilize the economy and the city?
Yes, when you look at the cost overall and the implications going forward, it looks quite, and again, it helps us to balance the discussion now, right? And should make managers of the economy also humble, because this has come at a high cost. And the narrative is the same. It's just that those conveying the narrative, they have changed. It's just like a football game where one team was trying to score. When there's a change, or after halftime, they try to defend where they were trying to score. And that's what happens. If you recall, in 2022, 2023, when Bank of Ghana booked huge losses, okay, which caused the equity position to go into negative. The narrative from the central bank is not so different from the narrative today. Again, in terms of justifying the losses, that they were necessary in order to restore macroeconomic stability. Remember, in 2022, when the central bank booked losses, the central bank's position was that they needed to do that to save the economy from collapse and all of that. So it's always that. But my worry is not really to focus on a particular party. The worry that we should be concerned about is how politicians across the two main divide tend to use the balance sheet of the central bank, right? Essentially sacrificing that for macroeconomic stability that they should have done a bit more to preserve, so that we don't unnecessarily burden the central bank. That is what we should be looking at, okay? As for the losses, no matter how much you explain it and all of that, the intentions were there, but the question is the cost of maintaining or achieving the mandate of the central bank always helps us to understand the efficiency and the prudence of it. Yes, they have a core mandate of price stability and all of that, but all over the world, when you look at the cost of achieving that and the deployment of the instrument and all of that, then it helps you to really balance the discussions. And I will say this, that it doesn't signal good overall if at a time when we are exiting the IMF program, we have the balance sheet of the central bank in the position where it is.
And you said that this is quite expensive for us, looking at the implications. What implications do you foresee on inflation and other relevant sectors of the economy? And you're even linking it to we exiting the IMF bailout.
Remember that the way stakeholders interpret data, annual report from the central bank and the rest of them, is quite different from the way maybe government or even the opposition would interpret it. Bear in mind that if you truly assess the policy solvency position of the central bank now, even with respect to 2025, if it hadn't been for the sale of the gold that was done, and I believe that part of the motive of the sale of those gold, right, was also to repair and to reduce the deficit position of the central bank in terms of policy solvency. If you take that out, okay, and it's not something that really we will say that it's a normal operation and all that. And I hear people saying that we can't have gold so much and all of that, but check data from other central banks as well and all of that. So those are a bit more concerning, whether we are preserving the balance sheet of the central bank, whether we are creating enough scope, for instance, for the central bank to be able to respond in the event that crisis emerge in the next 2-3 years or so. We are limiting the central bank, and unfortunately, we have found a way to politicize the independence of the central bank, and we are compromising their independence and their ability to be able to withstand pressures from the fiscal side. Remember that because the fiscal side doesn't look good and doesn't have scope to be able to take on the cost of restoring macroeconomic stability, we have passed on safely, conveniently. That was also what the NPP did. And the NDC has also done the same thing. We have passed on conveniently that cost of restoring macroeconomic stability, and we have loaded that cost on the books of Bank of Ghana. Because if the fiscal side had decided to take on a lot more of the cost, okay, the heavy lifting of restoring macroeconomic stability, the deficit the fiscal side would have recorded would have been higher than what we celebrated in 2025. That's the reason. And if you adopt a holistic approach to balance sheet analysis of the public sector, you will realize that the total losses from the central bank ultimately sits with the public sector balance sheet as well. And if you aggregate it from that perspective, you will notice that the primary surplus that we celebrated in 2025 has been 2.6%. Wouldn't have happened because the losses ultimately from Bank of Ghana is on the taxpayer.
It's on the taxpayer.
Okay? So, yes, it's on the taxpayer.
You said, let me ask you my last question, and then I will come for the final word of the panel in here. And nonetheless, we still saw the BOG report, a 5.5 billion positive policy solvency margin. What does that mean? And since you're saying that what we are currently using to stabilize the economy is expensive, how or what should be the way forward to ensure that we are not, digging ourselves in the foot whilst we are trying to solve a problem?
Yeah, as I indicated, if you look at the items one by one and you take the sale of gold and the profit from there out of it, and you match purely the interest income versus the cost of meeting their open market operations and all of that, you will see the negative open position of the central bank. You will see it in the data. So the sale of the gold masks the outlay or the outcome largely. Of course, but we can see that the gold is also there to serve that purpose. But we should be mindful that the central bank's balance sheet, we must, as much as possible, preserve that balance sheet for purposes of credibility. Purposes of credibility. Now that we don't have that, we are not going to have that external policy anchor because we are working hard to exit the IMF-supported program. Then we must. My thinking was that we should be in a mood where we are more or less repairing the balance sheet rather than the way it has gone. Of course, I'm not disagreeing that the macroeconomic good in terms of the results, I'm not discounting that, but I'm relating that to the cost of achieving that and whether if we had paced it rather than the aggressive nature of it that we adopted. Then if that was the approach, then at some point it will look more the politics of it rather than the economic good. Okay. So those are the things that I'm thinking that we should weigh, we should balance carefully. And it's quite interesting when the results, the annual report were published, you see politicians were more eager to explain, to defend, or to criticize, much more than the central bank itself that published the annual report. It's simply because the political cannibalization of the central bank has reached a certain peak for which reason, when the mess is caused by the fiscal side, we tend to sacrifice the balance sheet of the Bank of Ghana to correct it. Of course, others will say the Bank of Ghana is also a state institution and they are there for that purpose. But let's be very mindful, because we are losing that policy scope from the central bank perspective in order to respond to crisis in the future if they should happen. We can't say that crisis will never happen again and all of that. Those are the real concerns that the two main political parties should take note of, that we are compromising the credibility of the central bank. Because, for instance, if you look at some of the reasons why we have had to go to the IMF, some of them have been more of gaining policy credibility. Because when we are on our own, through our own actions and inactions, we are unable to generate that public confidence and credibility that we are able to internalize fiscal discipline on the side of politicians in order not to compromise institutional independence. Increasingly, that is what we are doing. And for me, that is where the issue is. If you look at the losses recorded in the books of Bank of Ghana as published, it's actually more than the 15 billion. It's actually more than the 15 billion. There are other losses that came through other comprehensive income and other losses that came through the P&L. But if you look at the overall effect on the equity position of Bank of Ghana, as at the end of 2025, the equity position has worsened by more than 35 billion Ghana cedis. You know what that means if you want to recapitalize the central bank, even if you want to implement the roadmap, the memorandum of understanding between Ministry of Finance and Bank of Ghana in recapitalizing Bank of Ghana. If you look at the annual recapitalization that the Ministry of Finance has to do, is going to be very huge. Whilst we are counting the savings that we could have used in building schools and all of that, remember that the recapitalization is also going to come from taxpayers' money, which equally could have been used in building schools, in building roads and stuff like that. So we need to shift the conversation and ask politicians who are in charge of the fiscal side to be more responsible going forward. So that we are able to preserve the balance sheet of the central bank. I'm uncomfortable the path at which we are going.
Thank you so much, Dr. Godfrey Bokpin, economist. Because of time, we'll have to end it here. But thank you very much for sharing your expertise with us, Dr. Dankwa, Lawyer Dankwa.
Mr. Dankwa. But what Prof is saying is more the reason why the MPP should not be allowed to pontificate. Because the most critical thing. The only thing you see in your dream is MPP, right? No, it's bad governance. I don't like bad governance. I don't like Koshoko governance.
He's talking about the NDC doing the same thing. You talk about his MPP
governance. I don't like that. And you see, when you talk about what an economy is, it's the state of a nation of its production and consumption of goods and services and the supply of money. And we know that the supply of money betters how government impacts the economy. It's in two folds: fiscal and monetary.
We have 1 minute each.
So I'm going to run up quickly. Now, the central theme of what the Prof was saying was we using Bank of Ghana to more or less wipe the inefficiencies of the politicians, but they use the fiscal side. And the biggest evidence of what he's saying was the 48 billion DDEP. Because you see, that was a direct use of monetary policy to deal with the crisis of the fiscal. And the indirect impact of that was the huge inflation, the exchange rate plunging deep. You understand? And that would necessitate Bank of Ghana to take the steps they took under Isiama, Dr. Isiama, to deal with the inflation and then the exchange rate issue. So to end, let's take it as this. On 7th January 2025, when His Excellency John Mahama came into office, he had an economy that was in stage 4 cancer stage 4. That required drastic measures to cure the stage 4 cancer that was caused by the familiar spirit-filled MPP. You understand? And the drastic actions obviously would include the mopping up.
But he just said that the path currently we're going is not sustainable.
He did not hear that. And so if you have stage 4 cancer, what should you do? So what's called Dr. Isiama should have sat down aloof and watch the system. So listen, that's what I'm saying, that in the analysis, in analyzing this situation, we should put it in proper context. And the proper context
is gave you 1 minute and you are speaking for 3 minutes.
Government and Ananado use their fiscal policy to put us in this council stage
Lawyer,
that required a Siama
Team Galatasaray, allow me to make my point.
In 1 minute,
Team Galatasaray,
same team, long boss. Galatasaray.
Team Family Spirit.
19.92 billion. Definitely, it's not a loss you want everybody. I respect the views expressed by Professor Bob King, and he knows I respect his views. But you see, regrettably, he doesn't provide an alternative pathway. He says that governors should sit aloof. Let's get our exchange rate get to 17.20. Let's get inflation go to 54 or 23. Prof, with the greatest of respect, something ought to be done. The health of the economy that the NDC administration, Governor Esiama, Atoforsen and others inherited was an economy in intensive care, admitted by you. The prescription in treating somebody in intensive care cannot be the same prescription in treating a man who just walked into a hospital. He is an academic. With a greater of respect to him. What you do in such analysis is to provide alternate, as though you are in the classroom with us, and say, look, this is what could have been done, and it would have cost less. First of all, you are against whatever it is that Gold Board is doing, because you want to link it to Galamsey, because you have a personal whatever issue with how the Galamsey. I admit, I agree with you. That's a perfect thing to do. But Prof, with the greatest of respect, the $10 billion foreign repatriation would have ended up in smugglers. Yes, that money that Gold Board alone is able to repatriate would have been money in the pocket of individuals. Is that the alternative? That's what we saw for 8 years. Today, at least, you know that it is the state that is handling that avenue.
Yeah.
That is a solution. That solution is not a perfect solution.
Galamsey.
This is a solution.
States encouraging
Please
Galamsey.
let him fill in because we don't have time.
Yeah, that's
at the point, Takwa was turned into the heartland of all kind of things.
Yeah.
All kind of things. What do you mean by
We've
all
seen
kind of
things happen in this country.
Nothing has happened
Please,
there.
please.
Takwa is a beautiful place.
But you see, without doubt.
Yes.
But you know what became of the town?
Yeah.
What was it?
Your water treatment, where you get water for the township of Takwa. What became of
The
that?
last 10 months, there's no supply of water in Takwa.
Mr.
And that is the last 10 months. The last 10 months under the NDC.
I deliberately pull you out because for 8 years you were destroying every single water body.
I'm saying the last 10 months.
Yeah, I want you to land. I'll come
But
to you
yes. Let me just land on this. But you see, in listening to Professor Bokwe, I saw an attempt, with respect to him, to try to downplay the efforts that have been put in place to keep this economy there. If you put cost to everything, then what would have been the cost of having the exchange rate at 17? Prof is not telling us that. What would have been the cost to ordinary citizens with inflation at 23%? Prof, I was thinking that in terms of your analysis, you would have given us the cost implication of inflation at 23%. You would have given us the cost implication of exchange rate at 17. So that is what I think we should all be doing.
Okay, thank you.
Bank of Ghana had every opportunity to diversify the gold reserve. And if you look at the situation where at a point our gold reserve went to almost 45%, it's important that you reduce it. Today, the gold mining companies are going to give us close to 16 ounces or whatever of gold, tons of gold this particular year,
If
which
you
will
wrap
fill
it
in,
up for us.
yes, which will fill in the gap. So we are back to the same position. But let the point be made. But for the government and the BOG intervention, this economy would have collapsed. And it was important at whatever cost the BOG intervened in the manner it did to keep this economy on sound footing. The benefit with lower and better stabilized, strengthened Ghana city is there for all of us to see. Unless, of course, people want us to go back to Missouri, which we are not willing to go. In fact, Egypt.
Oh, yeah, he said
60 seconds,
No,
please.
Thank you very much. So I like where Prof. Bokpin ended by indicating that about 35 billion, we are worse off about 35 billion in our equity position as a country. This is at the time, as a country, we had to resort to selling our reserves just so we stay afloat. So if people are saying that the situation in time past was bad, this is indeed worse.
The parable of
at the time where we do not have
the parable of the talents.
At the time where we do not have the Ukraine-Russian war, but our equity position is at the level we find ourselves in. This is a clear indication of how bad the situation could get. But it is important to note that Team Galatasaray, even UP and BECE, Team Galatasaray, forming a union and refusing to Galatasaray. They play the same team. So Team Galatasaray, you play the same team. So that's fine. Thank you very much.
will succeed.
We as a country admit that yes, we must take decisions in the interest of the people. But when you have a situation where people are now committing us to spending over 40 billion just to bring inflation down, which does not reflect in the lives of the people, then there is a problem.
Then there's a problem.
And the problem is what they are creating, just so they create a narrative that, oh, inflation is down. What is the effect? How much are you paying for water? How much are you paying for electricity? How much are you paying for your cost of transport? And this is the lives we are living in, and we are still paying this amount of money. Clearly, this is bad governance, and it is not one we should be proud of.
Let me.
Please.
Ghana City can never be good governance.
I'll come to you, Mr. Tamako. I want us to 1 minute each just talk about the fact that BECE is starting today. We have over 600,000 of our children going to sit for this exam.
I will talk about
in 1 minute, I'm giving you the final word on this, and then I'll come to you.
I'm excited about the
You'll be the last to speak on this, but I want him to give us 1 minute on this, and I'll come to you, Lawyer.
I wrote BECE in 1995.
Okay.
Yes.
I think the same time.
Yeah, I got small. Well, congratulations in advance to them. My expectation is that they will excel and they will avoid actions that will lead to the cancellation of their papers. But for me, unfortunately, we have very limited time in discussing this matter. A son of a teacher, and my dad spent some time in some of the rural communities teaching. One concern I have is the standard we use in assessing all these kids. If we look at some of the children, the opportunities they have, where they study, access to books, access to quality teachers, compared to a situation where you have class 1 to 6, only one teacher teaching these children, and all of them are to be assessed on the same level. I think that we need as a country to find a way of addressing the challenges and the very difficult situation children in rural communities find themselves in, because honestly, if you think about it, it's unfair how we take these children through the same level of examination. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'll come to you, Lawyer Danko. But
He will talk about MPP.
A number of you have sent in your messages, so let me just read just a few before I come to the two of you. And this is coming from Bolga D Line. Says, good morning to my boss, Eduji. And they said, what does the loss really mean? Is it an investment into the economy to stabilization, bring down pain and suffering of the masses? And said, once again, President Mahama has proven that leadership is not about lip service, as the other politicians always do. We do have John Kapi who speaks. I'll come to you. We do have John Kapi who speaks for WAEC on the phone with us. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
For having me.
And again, let me get your thoughts. Earlier, we saw a video of you telling us about some of the measures you've put in place, but we still end up having issues with examination malpractice, among others. What kind of assurance would you give us that this time around is going to be a clean exams?
Thanks very much. On our part as a council, we have the responsibility to moderate the questions, typeset, print, and then send them to the various centers, the examinations to commence. Our partners, the GES, provide us with invigilators and supervisors. Now, if, for example, in the course of printing, something happens, we take responsibility for that. But once the questions leave our domain and they get to the centers, then we depend on these personnel from the GES to assist us to ensure that we have a seamless examination process. We have been in touch with them. We've held briefing sessions with them. We've admonished them as a council. The GS has also spoken to them from the Office of the Director General. So basically, we have done all that we need to do, talking to the people who are, supposed to help us conduct these exams successfully. So we believe that everybody would have listened, everybody would have, had a change of mind, and so they'll be ready to assist us to conduct a seamless examination.
Logistics-wise, how ready are we?
Say again?
Logistics-wise, in terms of logistics, we don't have any challenges nationwide?
Oh, no. Now, we haven't received any information from any quarters. We have dispatched all the questions. We have dispatched all the depot keepers. We've also dispatched all the stationery to all the examination centers. We are monitoring. So far, nobody has called to talk about any difficulty. So, so far, we think that everything is on course. But, of course, the exams are yet to start at 9 a.m. And so when they start, we would then also continue to monitor and be sure that everybody has all that they need to be able to write the exam successfully.
So the exam starts at 9, ends at what time, and for how long are we going to have this period of BECE?
So this morning, they're starting with English language at 9. It will end at 11 a.m. Then in the afternoon, they will have religious and moral education, which starts from 1 p.m. and then will end at 2:45. So between today and Monday next week, or Monday morning, they have Arabic, and then that will be the last paper for BECE for 2026.
Thank you so much, Mr. John Kapi. He speaks for WAEC. Thank you for sharing that information with us. And just two more messages before I come to you, Lawyer Dankwa and Lawyer Dichitamaklo. This is coming from Prince Henry. Prince Nanaya York says, good morning, Beatrice. Kindly post or ask this for me. So we are expected to accept persistently high inflation and a rising cost of living. Is that a kind of Ghana Fifi wants for us? Every previous Eurobond was taken when the country was not ready, mainly because certain banks stood to earn fact commissions. God bless our homeland Ghana. From Mr. Stephen Penn in WA says, let the MPP communicator know that we are better off than 8 years ago. Let me get your thoughts.
Just a quick.
I'm sorry.
I'm only drawing his attention that the kids after this exam will be beneficiaries of Akufo-Addo Bawumia free SHS.
Okay, Lawyer Dankwa.
Nebu and Osman Amadou.
Akufo-Addo Bawumia free SHS. They were joined. Yes.
I think I just want to wish these children who represent the future of our country all the best. I wrote mine, I think, in 1994, a long time ago, and I think it was a launch pad to our academic journey. I want to wish them all the best. We should go there believing that they are capable of coming out successful. I want to particularly wish my nephew, Krache Akwabiamayao, all the best. He's writing his BECE today, and I believe that they'll come out hoisting the flag of success.
Thank you, Lawyer Tamaklo.
A quick one. This one reminds me of my own time, I think 95, 96, in Kwando Secondary School, because at that time, all the schools within Kwando would have to go and write the BECE at Kwando, secondary school. And I remember vividly myself, my mates, and our school were the first batch of the school, actually. Mm-hmm. And so, this reminds me, and let me tell them, and young people going to write the exams today, this is your surest pathway to greatness. Yeah. Because beyond the mock, this is the only time that you're going to have invigilators. They'll be on you. They are going to test your resilience. They are going to test your ability to think independently, among others. And if you're able to withstand that, that is going to create a huge pathway for you for the rest of your life. From here,
you transition into secondary school to the universities and every career that you want to have in this world. So the young people, please be encouraged. Go out there with all the confidence and the boldness, but avoid engaging in any form of examination malpractice.
And indeed, we wish them the best as they
And
start the BECE today. Thank you very much, Lawyer Godwin Eduji Kujo Tamaklo, CEO or Chief Executive Officer of the National Petroleum Authority. Thank you very much for coming in and sharing your thoughts with us. Also to you, Lawyer Andrew Appiah-Dankwa, Director of Legal United Party. Of course, to you as well, Mr. Fifi Boafo, former Head of Public Affairs with the Ghana Cocoa Board. And we had with us also Dr. Godfred Bokwin, economist, sharing his perspectives with us regarding the figures from the BOG. And of course, Mr. John Kapi, the man we just spoke to, Head of Public Affairs at WAEC. I want to say a big thank you as well to Pamoni Clothing in East Legon for my costume this morning. Let me remind you that the big issue is sponsored by the University of Gold Coast. Whether you're aiming for a specialist MBA in marketing, communication, operations, supply chain, human resource management, finance, entrepreneurship, innovation, or business intelligence analytics, or you just want to advance through a dual MBA or chartered manager MBA, University of Gold Coast gives you options that match your vision. And if your next step is an MSc in international relations, communication, international marketing, international law, security diplomacy, accounting finance, or human resource management, an LLM in international law, security diplomacy, or an MA in biblical studies, practical theology, the pathway is open. April admission is still on, although we are in May. Apply today because at University of Gold Coast, we make it practical, flexible learning, flexible entry, and flexible payment. Study around your work and life. Choose a route that fits your background and pay in convenient installment. Your dream deserves structure, your future deserves a strategy, and of course, your purpose deserves training. Apply now at www.ugc.edu.gh. Call or WhatsApp now on 555. University of Gold Coast, building leaders for the nations. My name is Beatrice Edu. When we come back, we'll bring you sports and some more. Just stay with us. And you're still here on Newday on TV3. It's time for sports. The Bill is here. Hi, Bill.
Hey, Beatrice.
How you doing?
Yeah, in all pink
Yes.
this morning. That's nice. That's nice.
Thank you.
Suits you.
Yeah. How was your weekend?
Very nice, actually.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, what happened?
Oh, my team won, at least. So it's a good thing to see Arsenal win a game.
Yeah.
But I think it was also sort of mixed because of what I saw in the world of athletics with regards to the World Relays Championships.
Yeah.
I saw Abdul Saminu Rashid, Ghana's 100-meter record holder, take to Twitter to complain about travel conditions that he faced heading into the competition. Benjamin Azamati, his teammates, also backed him up. And it became a whole fracas on social media on Sunday.
Yeah.
We understand. I mean, for some context, Ghana have secured spots in the 2027 World Athletics Championships. That was because they finished second in their heat in the World Relays in Botswana. That was on Sunday. But the athletes were not pleased because travel arrangements were not done so well for them. From some extra context, these three athletes were in Botswana, I believe, on Friday morning. The competition was on Saturday, and they had an additional athlete join in Friday evening. And so there was that tiredness, little preparation and all of that to compete. And so, yeah, these were the words of Saminu. He was saying the Ministry of Sports needs to do better. They shouldn't set them for failure. And he added that if it was Black Stars flight tickets, they will be ready a month prior to the game. 14 hours flight, 16 hours layover is not acceptable for professional athletes. We're running with jet lag, no proper recovery. So, yes, that was his complaint. And Azamati backed him up, saying to add to that, we are competing against guys who've been here for 1 to 3 weeks, while we've been traveling since Wednesday and arriving the day before on a new continent. I get it. I guess we are magicians. Do better, Sports Ministry.
Has there been any response from the ministry yet?
Yes, there has been a response from the Sports Ministry. But first, there was a response from the Ghana Athletics Association, who did congratulate the athletes for what they did, but also noted that they've seen their concerns and they take full responsibility for what happened. The Sports Ministry have also released their statement, and they are saying that, I mean, this one is not really their matter because they don't control the itinerary of athletes and their travels. That's down to the Ghana Athletics Association to control their itinerary. So they were just doing what was given to them, basically. So it's basically trying to say it's not their fault, and they should look at other stakeholders on that. And the Ghana Athletics Association have taken full responsibility for what happened.
But in the long run, what do you foresee as the impact? Because really, you're also talking about mental preparedness before the game, not just the physics or the physical bit.
Yeah, I think planning should be done better. That's what I feel. I feel athletes should be at a competition days before, not just one day before. And I think maybe in the future, flight arrangements will be done quicker. And when it comes to the sort of planning in regards to the athletes, it will be done better. Because, I mean, it got to a point where 2 athletes couldn't show up and they had to immediately bring an athlete from Ghana to go and join them in Botswana without prior training. It's not a good condition. It's not a good thing to do. So hopefully in the future that doesn't happen again.
Anyway, Ghana Premier League, for the first time, Hearts of Oak scored Nations and Na is not here. Normally, it is when Hearts of Oak gets scored that Na is not here. But today they won and she's not here. Yes.
They beat Nations FC by a goal to 0, but the biggest result on the weekend was that of Mediama and BBN Gold Stars. Mediama defeated Gold Stars by 2 goals to 0. All 2 goals coming from Salim Adams, who is highly rated in the league this season. He's second on the top scorers list, and he's one that people have been clamoring for to be part of the Black Stars. And so he proved himself in the biggest game of the weekend. And here are some other results. Adriana drew 0-0 with Hearts of Lions. Dreams defeated Asante Kotoko 2-0. Karela defeated Young Apostles 2-1. Mediama defeated Gold Stars 2-0. Hearts of Oak defeating Nations FC 1-0. Samatex defeated Holy Stars 3-1. Swedro Blacks defeated Vision 2-1. And Bechim United defeated 11 Wonders by 3-1.
What else do you need to know?
Of course, this is how the table looks like. Mediama are now about 5 points clear of BBN Gold Stars in the Ghana Premier League. There's Hartlepool who are currently third on the log as well. But it looks like Mediama are on the ascendancy, and they look the likeliest team to go on to win the Ghana Premier League with 4 games to go.
Nice. Let's cross borders. Inter Milan.
Yeah, Inter Milan have won the Serie A once again. They won their game over the weekend to secure that Serie A title. Very, very big for them because last season was Napoli. This season, Inter Milan have taken over once again as the best team in Italy. And hopefully they can push on from there because last season they suffered defeat in the Champions League final. Maybe next season they could go all the way to the final once again and win it. And these are the last 10 winners. There was an initial dominance from Juventus from 2016 all the way down to 2020 before Inter Milan won, and then AC Milan, then Napoli, then Inter Milan again, Napoli, and now back to Inter Milan. So Inter Milan have won about 3 in the last 10 seasons or so, and they are second when it comes to most Serie A titles won.
Yeah.
Juventus, of course, holds the most with 36 titles.
But I'm
Inter
telling
Milan,
you, that's a long stretch.
Yeah.
36 and 21.
Yeah,
Not anywhere close.
Yeah. Very long stretch. Inter Milan have a lot of catching up to do, but I mean, it's possible in the next maybe 30 years or so, we might see a shift, whether it's very close or just close enough for Inter Milan.
And I just wondered why Samatex has moved to 4. And I didn't even talk about it.
Your own team, they are doing well. You have to go to Samurai Boy one day and then go and watch one of their matches before the end of the season.
Yeah. But anyway, what else do you need to? I know you're coming back at 10 a.m. with a bit more, but if you can tell us what we should expect.
Of course, some more updates in regards to what happened with the World Relays competition, and also looking ahead. Of course, we are still building up to the 2026 World Cup. So also you can check out our social media platforms at 3sportsgh and the website at www.3news.com/sports.
Thank you, the Bilishan, for bringing us the latest in sports. This is still Newday on TV3. When we come back, we'll bring you some more. Do stay with us. all the other things that come with it. You want to stay glued to your TV set, and if joining us via social media pages, yes, stay, because we're here to give you some more. And I'm joined in the studio now by Mr. Jude Fosu-Jemfi, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Prospectus Ghana Limited. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and how are you?
Doing very well. I hope you're well.
I'm doing well, thank you.
I'm joined also by Mrs. Evelyn Sapon, COM Prospectus Ghana Limited.
Yeah.
Good morning to you as
Good
well. Thank
morning
you for
to you
joining
too.
us.
Thank
and
you.
I know your organization is organizing EduPack.
Yes.
It's all about education. But really tell us about it. What is it?
Okay, so thank you. We're happy to join you here this morning. You look beautiful.
Thank you.
So, Educational Pack, that's what we call it, EduPack. It's an initiative that is organized by Prospectus Ghana Limited, but it's supported by GES and the Ministry of Education. This initiative is happening this year, 2025-2026 academic year, for all senior high school students. I mean, the junior high school student going to senior high school first level, okay, Form 1. So this initiative, what it's going to do is that it's solving problems. What the problems are is that we are looking at eradicating bed bags in the schools. I did some research and I realized that in April 30th last year, 2025, there was a very serious case of bed bags infestation in Ekurapim Senior High School, and also even in Presec in 2023. And so this is not something that people actually know, but in senior high school, we actually go through this bed bag infestation throughout the year, because many people bring used mattresses, used chalkbox, old chalkbox as well to school, and then this tends to affect the students when they go to school. So we're looking at solving one major problem, that's the eradication of bed bags. We're also trying to make it very easy for parents and cost-effective for parents. We're looking at reducing the cost of you know, when you're going to school, the prices skyrocket. People are rushing to buy their items because if it's free at SHS, but you still have to buy your items when going to school. So we are looking at reducing the cost for these 4 major items. So what are we doing? We're supplying 4 main items to the school. And these 4 items are the plastic chalkbox, the suitcase or the trunk, and then the Macintosh mattress and pillow. These 4 items, we have been mandated by the Ministry of Education. We are supported by them to supply them to every senior high school, that's the boarding school in Ghana.
Okay.
So that's what we're looking at.
And you're saying that this initiative, based on what you said, is inspired by the challenge of bed bags in our schools.
Yes.
And you're supported by the Ministry of Education. But you said it's for the 2025-2026 academic year. But which period within this year is this event, for instance, taking place?
Okay. So school is reopening in September 18th, if I am correct.
September 2nd.
2nd, okay. So 2nd September. So what this initiative is doing is that for those going to senior high school this year, those writing the exams, I didn't even wish them well. I mean, they're writing exams, BECE today. So I wish everyone the best. So we are putting preparations down for them. So as we speak now, we are producing, we are sending these items to the schools, the senior high schools now, so that when you go to the schools, you can have access to these items. So it's actually starting now. And all the items will be delivered before reopening day. That's the 2nd of September. So before you get to the school, you have these items there.
Let me ask you this before I get to Mr. Fosu. You said that you're providing, a number of them are plastic stuff. A lot of the time when we hear of bed bags, what we also hear in terms of recommendation is that they should fumigate the schools.
Yes.
How does that work with fumigation and then what you're providing as your focus of eradicating bed bags in schools?
Okay, so fumigation always solves the problem when it has happened. So bed bags have to infest the school before you do the fumigation. Now we are trying to solve the problem from its root before it even gets to the school. Okay, schools are going to fumigate anyway, but then if students are going to still bring very old trunk, very old wooden chop box, or even just wooden chop box, because you know when moisture is retained in the chop box, it just starts, you know, growing bed bugs and all other bacterials. So we are saying that we are solving the problem from its root. So we are trying to eradicate this bed bug even before you get to the school. That's why this initiative has been accepted. And at the end of the day, we are also going to build warehouses in the school. That means that you don't need to take your items to the school, to the house after vacation. You know, you don't have to take it back and then take it back in, because you don't know what you're bringing in back to the school. So now you have the warehouse where you keep all these 4 essential items, and then you pack your items with just a jute bag, and you carry it to school, then you pack it in.
Mr. Fosu Jemfi, Mrs. Sapon just talked about the fact that, yes, there's free senior high school. It doesn't mean you don't buy certain items. So in terms of the cost, can you tell us a bit more about it? Oh, you want to talk about it again?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. The cost, what we can say is that relatively cheaper than what the open market price would be. We are doing everything within an approved and accepted price by the Ghana Education Service, but it's cheaper than the open market price.
Okay.
Parents will be saving around 15 to 20% compared to how much they would
Getting
have
all the items
getting
together.
all the items.
Okay.
And it's sent to the school. Like she said, the items are sent to the schools. So parents are not paying for transportation. We are sending everything to the school. We're doing this with FedEx and Ghana Post. So they take the items to school ahead of time. And we are also writing their names, the students' names, on the items for them. So you are not paying for that one. So the cost is all inclusive. We are writing the names on the items, and then also we are providing them with some padlocks that they can use to lock the plastic chop box.
So you're saying the names of the students are written on it. Does it make it compulsory?
No. When you go to school and the items are issued out to you, then we take your name. We have our people. We are doing this with the schools. They give us their visual arts students to assist in the writing of the names on the items.
Also, it is written after you've taken the details from the students?
Yes, after we've taken the details from the students.
And the payment module, how is it like?
Great, I like that one. No school is allowed to accept payment from any parent. The reason being that we do not want any parent to sit on radio or come to your show and start saying that now government or the schools have started selling trunks and chop boxes and mattresses to parents. So what we have been advised to do is that you go to the bank and you make the payment, or you use our short code *713*821# to make the payment. So all that is required of a parent to do is to just go to the school and show your payment receipt to the school authorities that you have paid. We have people on campus to verify and confirm that this receipt is genuine. Once it is confirmed and you are cleared, your items are given to you.
And you said that this is not compulsory. So assuming there are certain parents who do not want to take your items, what happens?
Okay, so it's not compulsory. We're leaving that one for the schools to decide. Now, I say always that it's a solution. We are providing a solution. You and I know that we want the best for our kids. We want the best. Every parent wants the best. You want your work to come out in performing very well academically. And I say that to perform well academically, the teaching is one aspect of it. The food that we give to the students to eat on campus is one aspect. And then where they sleep. So if this solution is going to help prevent the spread of bed bugs, and we are saying that parents, don't bring that old used mattress. It may be new, okay? Somebody may argue that no, it's not a used mattress that I'm sending. I also purchased it. But we want to prevent you from bringing it from home to school. We cannot guarantee. As we speak today, over 600,000 people are writing the BECE today.
Mm-hmm.
Now, out of this 600,000, let's take that about 2/3 of them are giving boarding admission. So it means that about 400,000 students are going to be given admission to enter boarding school. If each and every one of them is coming from their homes to school with their mattresses, you cannot tell which material somebody is bringing to the school. So we are only appealing to parents that we should all help make the system work.
Let's help to make the system work. And I want to take your final word. And if you could tell us also about quality, because even if it's cheaper than what parents would find on the market, they still want to be assured that the quality is good.
It's good.
And any other word you want to say before we wrap up?
Okay. So about the quality is assured. Ministry of Education had to go through all the 4 items, okay? That's the plastic choke box, the trunk, the Macintosh pillow and mattress. We had to go through steps where it's standardized for every student. So we are not talking mattresses that when you sleep on it for a year, then you need to change it. No, we're not talking about trunk that is weak, that can crumble or, get spoiled at any time. We are working with top quality. We are actually producing them in Ghana. So we're working with top quality companies. I don't know if I'm free to mention some of the companies we are working with. We're working with Latest Foam to bring the best, Qualiplast to bring the plastic chobox, Duraplast as well. And then some other companies are producing the trunk as well. So we have tested and seen the quality and we're bringing the best. So whether poor or rich or in between, you can still have access to this quality items. So it's approved. So we are telling every Ghanaian that, every Ghanaian mother, okay, that want their children to succeed and do well. There's a trend when you go to school and everybody has new, fresh, nice plastic chobox and everything, and your child doesn't have it. Then it becomes a problem, like you are making the person stand out of the many. Again, if you don't even have the money to pay, we have the pay in installments on our platform where you can start paying $355 now till school reopens.
All right, thank you very much. Mrs. Evelyn Sapon, Com Prospective Ghana Limited, thank you very much for joining us and for speaking to us, and also to you, Mr. Jude Fosu-Jemfi, Chief Executive Officer of Prospectus Ghana Limited. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you so much.
And for talking about Edu Park, which we understand has already started, but we're staying on education because we're just talking about BECE candidates, over 600,000 of them sitting the exams across the country today. Let's go to the Ashanti region. My colleague Ibrahim Abubakar is currently on standby to bring us what's happening. We were told by Mr. John Kapi a while ago that the exams were to start at 9 o'clock. It's a little over 9:30, so let's find out what's happening. Ibrahim, if you can hear me, tell us where exactly you are and what's happening with the exams. Ibrahim, you're muted. We can see you, but if you can unmute yourself so we can hear you.
Okay, so I'm currently at the Christ the King School, which is one of the centers here at Ahimsan in the Asqua municipality. In fact, like you rightly mentioned, the first paper has commenced, even though at some of the centers we started around 9:15 due to delay in traffic and other things. But you mentioned over 600,000 candidates who are writing the BECE today. And Ashanti region, I would say, is presenting the highest number of candidates, which is around 125,000 Ghana A, 125,000. And so far, so good. The candidates have been talked to since morning. I've seen education officials, MMDAs, MPs moving around just so they will engage with the candidates to inform them on the need not to indulge in any form of examination malpractices. In fact, educational officials have also expressed confidence in the arrangement put in place, assuring that adequate measures have been implemented to ensure smooth and credible examination process. So you come to the centers, aside the police officers that have been stationed here, you also find BNI officials who are not in uniform. They are also doing the underground work just so they will make sure that there isn't any form of cheating in any of the centers. So The security, like I said, are here to maintain order and prevent more practices, whilst invigilators have also been urged to remain vigilant throughout the period. Earlier, in some of the centers we visited, we chanced upon the Member of Parliament for Asukwa, who is also the Deputy Minority Leader, and also some officials who have been engaging students and also invigilators on the need to comport themselves in this 5-day period. If the video is ready, we can listen to some of the advice they have been given to both the students and the invigilators.
Don't carry any paper with you. Don't take phones. If you carry any paper and you are caught, your paper will be cancelled. When you carry mobile phone and you are caught, the entire paper will be cancelled. It is my prayer that you take your time and write. I have also spoken to the supervisors and the invigilators that they have to treat you well, not to condone any examination or practices, but at least they should not shout at you because you are minors. And I expect that you write under a very good, conducive atmosphere. Believe that you can write and pass, and I also believe in you.
I know you have prepared adequately for this particular exam, and you have the confidence to write. I'm asking everybody to trust God to do the perfect thing for you. So don't go with fear or anything. Just relax. What is important at this particular examination is to be able to apportion time appropriately to your questions.
This is another step in your life. I will encourage you. This is the beginning of a new thing in your life. Be bold. The word is what? Be bold. I said what? Be bold. Munya day, munya akukudro. Munya day, akukudro. Some over day, mobile pass.
I pray that we don't put ourselves into issues that will bring a lot of challenges to us.
So you just watched the situation in the Ashanti region. Of course, we had a reporter who is monitoring for us, Ibrahim Abubakar, painting a picture for us as regards what's happening. From the Ashanti region, we go to the Savannah region, where Christopher Mwako is also on standby for us, having observed just a few things for us this morning. Christopher, just tell us what's happening.
Yes, so Beatrice, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so here in the Savannah region, the exams has commenced. Over 6,000, almost 7,000 candidates are sitting for this exams. Currently, I'm in the Solar-Tuna Kalba district. You remember that last year, it was this district that produced the best students who went for the President's Award. And so the entirety of the region decided to come to the Savannah, the Solar-Tuna Kalba district this time once again to sort of motivate these young ones as they begin their BECE exams today. But Beatrice, one interesting thing is that you know that last year, around July, August, the Guinea conflict, and we all know the impact it had on education. And so the regional minister, Savannah regional minister, together with the regional education director and the district chief executive, have been monitoring the situation. Now, quite briefly, I want to engage the regional minister who is here with me. We all know that last year, as a result of the Guinea conflict, education was hugely impacted as a result of the conflict. I want to find out from you, how have you been able to psych these children psychologically as they begin their exams today?
Yes, to be very frank, together with the Regional Directorate of Education and the DC for Solar-Tuna Kalba District, we are able to get people who are educational psychologists to talk to a lot of the students from the affected areas. In fact, the engagements that we have made gave them that confidence, and they came back to their various posts. And many of the teachers who needed to flee came to their posts, and things actually went on very well. Remember, the conflict started somewhere in Addis. So it means that the students who wrote last year had already done, they've written their exams. It is this actually set of students who were directly affected by the conflict, but by the grace of God, we're happy that over 1,000 students of this district, Solatuna Kabadisa, are actually going to participate in this exam. And I'm confident that they will once again come out as one of us.
We know that from here you'll be moving to the Bole district as well. But tell us, having seen these students, their demeanor, their determination to write this exam, do you think that the falling standards of education in the Savannah region, especially at the basic level, do you think that something is beginning to change?
By the efforts we are putting in place, of course, we are very much assured that things are changing. But it does not take just a year or two to be able to assess educational impact. It takes a series of years to be able to actually assess it. The products that we are receiving were actual products from another administration, and the efforts which they made from the primary 1 to 5 to 6, leading to the GHS 1, GHS 2, GHS 3. Of course, when the foundation is weak, it is difficult to be able to build an excellent top-up in that regard. But we are doing our efforts to ensure that we get the best out of this situation. Security
is very paramount, especially during invigilation. I heard you tell the teachers that they should do their work without fear or favor. Are you emphasizing on this? Because over the years, we've seen some invigilators arrested trying to teach the children.
Yes. We've actually put in the needed measures. We've warned the teachers, we've warned the invigilators, we have warned the students, and indeed, we are putting in adequate measures to ensure that we are not just interested in getting the best of grades. If you get all grades, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, but yet it is not of integrity, it is not of your own effort. It means that you have only built a child who is not confident of himself. But if the child is able to produce something that is even not the best, but it is good, and the child knows that it is my own personal effort that indeed produces this thing, then it actually spears them up to higher levels. And they know that this is what we are aiming at. We're not just interested in passing, but we're interested in the quality of the child, in the education that the child gains.
Okay, so Beatrice, we are just on our way to Bole from the Solatuna Kalba district. We have to stop somewhere along the way to be able to do this report. But the Savannah Regional Director of Education also has been sharing his thoughts on this particular examination. Let's take a listen to what he's been saying.
6,970 candidates ready for the BECE. This made up of 3,491 male and then 3,479 female. And they are writing the exam at 25 centers. Inclusive of this number is 562 private school candidates made up of 300 girls and then 262 boys.
Share with us, how is the situation like? Just supposing it were the results last year and what do you expect this year?
Okay. Incidentally, STK happened to be the reigning champion when it comes to the BECE performance. Last year, the award winners came from this district. Unfortunately, last year too, we had that conflict situation that actually affected education delivery. So after the conflict, we keep up our teachers, the students and other stakeholders to garner sufficient energy so that we can make up for the loss during the conflict season. We are hoping and praying that we are ready for the examination.
And we go to second day in the Western region from the Savannah region, and Abraham Mensah is also on standby for us. Abraham, where are you exactly? What can you tell us?
So I'm currently in Estipado Ketan, sub-metro of the Sekondi Takade Metropolitan Assembly. This morning I've been to the Sekondi College, where over 10 schools are sitting for the BECE. If I'm to share some statistics here in the Western region, 45,116 candidates are sitting for the exams. And we understand the female population is just about 1,000 more than the male population. From what I've observed, the students largely are optimistic. A few are a bit tense, particularly concerns this among students from peri-urban and rural communities like the Shama, Enclave, the Ikabank Panta. But then again, when you engage teachers, they believe their students are well prepared to sit for the 2026 BECE exams. They expect to have this kind of expressions on the faces of their students. Nonetheless, they think, compared to the mock exams, the series of mock exams they've taken in preparation for this exams, this would be better as compared to last year. Generally, there is a concern here in the Western region. The fact is that last week, Friday, there was a conference organized by the Ghana Education Service with heads of schools and district directors of education. The concern largely had to do with examination mode practices, in the sense that the Western North was flagged as being the most affected regions with examination mode practices. We look at the numbers, it's around 42% of the students that registered for the BECE exams last year. This year, the determination is that you're going to have possibly a zero incidence in terms of examination mode practices, or barely to look at reducing the numbers. And in this morning, just at Secondary College, I had the opportunity to speak to the Deputy Director of Education in charge of quality and access, Dr. Isahaku Munaru, who shared this with us.
All right, but what more can you tell us as regards the demeanor of the students, level of preparation, even with logistics in the area where you are?
So everything is okay here. All the schools, basically from the Secondary College where I visited, and then again, Ahantaman Girls Senior High School, you could see that the preparation is top-notch. You could mention of the invigilators, you see police presence in there. Their demeanor, their appearance is not that intimidating for the students. But then, as first-timers, this tension is obvious. But they believe, as I interacted with them, that they will succeed in this examination. They are looking within the range of a single digit to 15 or worse 20, grade 20 in this year's examination. But when I spoke to the teachers, theirs was that these cases of examination or practices are largely not their fault. They are putting the blame on the invigilators, that if they do not have access to the examination center, so if the invigilators are actually doing the work well, we shouldn't be expecting this kind of, foreign materials in the examination centers, teaching, sharing of answers. That shouldn't be the case. And earlier, one of the examiners was sharing a hint with the students that the items per paper, per candidate is different from a colleague. So they shouldn't even expect to share answers when a colleague asks them what is the answer for question 1 or question 2. So they've made them aware that this is what they should expect in terms of the papers that they will be writing today.
All right, thank you very much, Abraham Mensah, reporting from the Western region. And we can listen to some of the students he interacted with earlier.
Later, I realized that it's like a normal one that we wrote previous days. So I think we can do our best, and the victory comes from God. So we can do everything. And I will tell my fellow students also that you shouldn't be afraid, because those who have written some have told us that it is very easy. That just you need to critical thinking. You need critical thinking. Thanks be to God.
I'm expecting good. I'm feeling excited and a little scared because this is my first time to write BECE.
What would you tell your colleagues?
I will encourage them to learn and be bold, because the first time of writing BECE is not easy.
What are your great expectations?
I'm expecting from 6 to 20.
I'm very excited, and I'm also happy to see this cycle for the BECE that you're coming to write. I mean, I'm very happy to come this place. Yeah.
What are your expectations in terms of grades after writing this BECE?
Oh, I mean, I want to be between 6 to 12 degree. I know I can do it.
These children sound like the most prepared for this BECE, and we wish them all the best. I know by now they've already started because it's past 9. Wishing them the best, and hopefully they're able to get the grades they are expecting. They said between 6 to 20, they should be able to get that. But we've got to the Volta region now, where we understand that a total of 32,311 candidates from 1,259 public and private schools are sitting for this year's BECE. And we're joined by Fiscal, who is our correspondent there. Fiscal, if you can tell us, Fiscal Abdul Idrisu, what can you report?
Yes, so the numbers are correct. Over 32,000 candidates are sitting for the BECE starting today. A while ago, the center where I am currently, the examination began some 30 minutes back. Now, in the whole municipality, over 3,000 candidates are sitting. A total 3,232 are sitting across 11 examination centers. Now, I want to run you through the figures in terms of the male-female representation. This year, for the whole municipality, 1,541 boys are sitting for the examination, and a total 1,691 are sitting for the examination. Now, for the whole municipality again, the schools we are talking about in total, there are 76 public schools and 37 private schools, making up for the total 3,232 candidates sitting across the 11 centers here in the municipality.
All right, and what's the atmosphere looking like aside from the numbers? Yes, what's the atmosphere looking like aside from the numbers?
Well, so a very calm atmosphere. The candidates seem very prepared. I spoke to a few of them earlier. They indicated that they are very optimistic, making good grades to make it to the best schools in the region and beyond. They have some also mentioned that, well, this is their first ever time leaving the comfort of their classrooms for an external examination, and so they feel very nervous. But because today is the starting day, they are very hopeful that between now and the very last day, they will take the very final paper. They will be used to this very arrangement and new environment altogether. Stakeholders have also been monitoring the examination across the centers. A while ago, the Volta Regional Minister, James Gunu, the Municipal Director, Dr. Esther Ajimayabua, were all here to engage the candidates right before the examination began. The key issues they've been speaking about are the fact that, well, they have put in so much effort up until today, so they should not allow this effort to go in vain. They must focus and ensure that they make good grades. But of course, the issue of exam malpractice, which is a national conversation, they caution the candidates against it, indicating that if any of them is caught engaged in any act of exam malpractice, definitely they are not going to let the person off the hook. They are going to deal with the person, and that would also mean that it is going to have a toll on their long-term life and, for that matter, their academic journey. And so they are cautioning the candidates against any of such activities.
Indeed. Thank you very much. Fiscal Abdul Idrisu, reporting live from the Volta region. Thank you. But let's hear the Volta Regional Minister, James Gunu, who also spoke to you earlier.
Motivate you so that this year we can have more of such awards coming from the metropolis. May I see by hand those of you who would like to receive these presidential awards? Very good, very good, very good. So the president has asked us to tell you to remain focused, because a lot of preparation has gone into what you are coming to do today. You have prepared yourself, were so determined, and the effort that you put in will not be in vain. We also use the occasion to thank your teachers, your guardians, your parents, and everybody who has contributed to making this day a possibility. The President asked us to tell you that this is just the foundation. Once you are able to lay it very well, you can build upon it. And I can see success around all of you already. Remain focused. And also, after after the examination, the president has asked us to tell you to celebrate responsibly.
And you just watched James Gunu, who is a Volta Regional Minister, advising the students not just towards the examinations, but after they're done. He said they should celebrate responsibly. Some of you are celebrating your birthdays today and want to help you celebrate. Let me start with Dr. Senanu Jokoto, Deputy CEO, National Health Insurance Authority. Is coming from Derek Abuchi and the entire staff of the NHIA, as well as Roland Walker. Happy birthday to you, Dr. Senanu Jokoto, and wishing you all the best for the day. A number of you have also sent in your birthday messages. This is coming from Kwablavi of Pokwase, Benghazi. And he says, I'm wishing my daughter Grace Noklim Awume happy birthday. She should learn hard at Accra Technical University and be a good girl. I'm wishing her long life, joy and happiness. Coming from Kwablavi of Pokwase, Benghazi. A happy birthday to all of you. And yes, let's see who else is celebrating their birthday today. As we always do here, we help you to celebrate your day in a very big way. Yes. So who is celebrating your birthdays? Let me see which of you have already sent in more in terms of birthdays. There's one coming in from, and it is actually not now. You're celebrating your birthday later in the course of the week. And this is to you. Okay, you didn't actually add your name. Okay, Madam Eugenia Kobina. And happy birthday to you in advance. Yes, from your loved ones. Francisca Arabachum, may grace surround you always from Prisla. Happy birthday to you. Florence Owusu, may the Almighty God protect you with good health. Also, Nima to Yahaya, happy birthday to you, ma'am. Sylvia Bema Efriye, happy birthday to you, ma'am. Madam Comfort, happy birthday to you, madam. Charlotte, happy birthday to you. Miss Agnes Ekia Dansua Amuafo, happy birthday to you. Prince, happy birthday to you, Prince. Raphael Fifi Gizom Fad, coming from Mr. Sowa. Yes, and Helen. They wish you all the love you need. Happy birthday to you, Kofi. Miss Georgina Ahenkra of Pentecost Hospital, Medina. Happy birthday to you, Miss Georgina. Michael Seduji Kasu. Happy birthday to you. Is it Mikhail? Dr. Senanu Jokoto, I just mentioned that. Deputy CEO, National Health Insurance Authority, from Derek Abuchi, the entire staff of the NHIA, and of course from Roland Walker as well. Happy birthday to you, sir. ACP Freeman Tete. Oh, happy birthday to you. From Roland Walker and all of us. Abraham, happy birthday to you. Selom Ejay Laye, happy birthday to you. Honorable Dorcas Afo Tofe, happy birthday to you, Honorable. MP for Jomra. Renee team, happy birthday. Ella Entry Buesiakon, happy birthday, Ella. Adepa Charity, happy birthday to you, Adepa. Solace Mensa, happy birthday to you. Bridget Dakwa, happy birthday to you. Pastor Joseph Adechi, happy birthday to you. Loretta, happy birthday to you. Abigail Nyamikuma, happy birthday to you. Rhoda Baba Edia, happy birthday to you. Rebecca Bote, happy birthday. Okay, just read that. Happy birthday to you. Ray, happy birthday. Dennis Akwete, happy birthday to you. Reverend Richard Kwatin Achi, happy birthday to you, Rev. Abigail, happy birthday to you. Ya Mansa, happy birthday to you, ma'am. Angela Owusu, happy birthday to you. Dennis Jemfua Ajiman, happy birthday. Honorable Paul Otis Dentu, happy birthday to you. Jamila Suleiman, happy birthday, Jamila. Nah, happy birthday. Charles Otu, happy birthday to you, sir. Happy birthday to all of you celebrating your day today, and wish you all the best and a fruitful year ahead of you. My name is Beatrice Elu. Thank you very much for staying with us on New Day on TV3. Do enjoy the rest of our programs and see you tomorrow.